Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the debut episode of the Attitude Era Wrestling Review, where we go back and review the Attitude Era and was it great or was it crap? And they say you only get one chance to make a first impression. So is this episode going to be the debut of Kane, or is this going to be the debut of the Shockmaster? And before I get started, let me introduce my co-host. His name is Arnold, and he's the reason you got to lock your doors and hide your kids. How's it doing, Arnold?
It's going all right, man. Just enjoying this nice, beautiful, cloudy West Virginia day.
Oh, yeah. It is very cloudy, and it's going to rain. But it beats the 90-degree weather we've been having.
Amen, brother.
I just realized I didn't even introduce myself. My name's Drew. Oh, this ought to be interesting. But we are here today to review the King of the Ring 1996. And if we have to tell you why that's important, you really need to listen to this podcast.
Yes.
So let's give a little bit of background to where wrestling in general was at this point. Little history lesson. So we're at 1996. WWF in particular has been garbage since 89. I mean,
Give or take. I mean, you can definitely tell that the golden age of professional wrestling, in a sense, you like superstars, Hulk Hogan, Macho Man Randy Savage, Roddy Piper, just to name a few guys who were in their prime, wrestling in arguably the best promotion in the country at the time, and all under the helm of what's his name, old Jack Tooney. Of course,
name dropping
puppet master Vincent Kennedy McMahon Jr. But you have all this going on, and then these guys, they leave, they go off to do other things.
Course, Eric Bischoff opens up a checkbook.
With a stamp from Ted Turner himself. Get these men in here now. Getting guys. Savage went to WCW by this time. Hogan was established in WCW by this time, and they're joining guys like Ric Flair, and the Four Horsemen. And I mean, WCW was on the come up. Yeah.
I mean, we'll debate Four Horsemen when we review Nitro, but I'm sorry, but Mike Mondo McMichael or Steve McMichael should never have been a horseman. I am sorry. Let's not jump ahead.
I said we'll get to that.
We'll get to that.
We will get to that.
Oh yeah, we'll get to that. But I mean, Hogan left. I mean, he left, but McMahon didn't want him. McMahon's like, don't need you anymore. He thought he was washed up. Who knew what a heel turn could do? But let's not get ahead of ourselves there.
Amen.
Savage, he thought Savage was done in the ring, wanted him to become an announcer, which I thought he would be. I thought he was and could be great at. Would have been great at.
Oh, absolutely.
But Savage wasn't done in the ring, and I think Savage proved he wasn't done. He wasn't the Savage of old. He was old.
Oh no.
But he could still go. He still had years left. But
right.
McMahon was more interested in let's make plumbers and hockey players and crazy dentists. Never got that. That whole era was just, let's just erase that out of the history books.
Amen. But hey, one of those profession jobs did get us a Hall of Famer out of The Undertaker.
That's very true. I never realized that. I mean, yeah, I guess that is true. But it wasn't just straight Undertaker. That was demented, undead. Thank God the gobbledygooker never got over.
Oh Lord. That was probably the cringiest moment.
Yeah. Let's stick a Hall of Famer. Let's stick one of the greatest wrestlers in history in a turkey costume. But yeah, so that's where we are. But we're about ready to hit the turning point, I believe. King of the Ring 1996. Like we said, if we have to tell you why it's important,
Better do your homework. That's for
do
sure.
your homework. But I remember this is actually before I ever really started watching wrestling. I didn't start till about 1997. So a lot of this is still new. I mean, I know the history of it, but watching it and getting deep into it is pretty new to me. I don't know about you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's like for me, it was about 1998, 97, 98, about when I started watching wrestling regularly.
See, I remember mine because I remember being in science class, and the two kids behind me watched wrestling religiously, and I didn't. I never watched it, but they'd always say, "Hey, did you watch Raw last night or Nitro?" At this point, and I go, "Yeah, it was great, Dad." Blah, blah. I wasn't watching it. I just wanted to fit in and be cool. And I remember them coming in one day, and they kept talking about, "Oh my God, did you see what happened at Survivor Series last night?" And I'm like, and they kept talking about it. I realize now, looking back at it, exactly what it was. But I got that that was Monday. Monday night, I'm like, "Mom, these kids are watching this thing called wrestling. Can I watch it?" "Yeah, sure." She watched it in the '80s and thought, "Hey, this is all clean and good. Go for it." And I'm watching. I'm like, puppies. But anyway, yeah, so I watched it for a long time after that until pretty much college, and I lost track of it again and started watching it again about 2017 and watched it for a while and realized this sucks.
I mean, if you ask a lot of people, I mean, that's kind of putting it mildly. I mean, especially with what we've gotten as of late, with this like mass just exodus of people, whether leaving on their own accord or being released out of the blue in most cases.
Yep.
Yeah, I won't go into detail about that because I have my thoughts about that. And I mean, for some of those guys, I think it was a mistake to get rid of them. Honestly, two names that come to mind for me are Aleister Black and Braun Strowman. I mean, of course, it's like, well, what are you going to do with them? Well, it's like, there's plenty you could do with them, but you need to quit releasing people. Okay, sorry.
Oh, no worries. I would probably do the counterpoint of it, but I don't have a big issue releasing people if there was somewhere else to go. But because I mean, let him like we're doing WWF, WCW. You release a guy, he goes to WCW. Maybe like somebody young that we'll see that's been released goes to WCW, makes name for himself, comes back, and he's bigger than before. You haven't seen him in a while. You might have seen him over there, but he's new here. But today you've got basically I'm not even going. I hate calling AEW an actual promotion. That is just sorry. I'm not going to get into a rant on modern wrestling, but that's garbage. Sorry. I could go for a couple hours on why I've watched a little bit of it and read like what they're doing, and yeah, no. But anywho, so we're at King of the Ring, 1996 now.
Yep.
This is, I guess, it's a good background of why we're going back and watching the old stuff.
Yeah, no doubt. That was a nice little segue.
Yeah. So this took place on June 23rd, 1996 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Probably up near Pat and Patty's Backpack Shack. And if you watch Saturday Night Live in the '90s or the early 2000s, you know that joke. I can't say with Wisconsin without talking about Pat and Patty's Backpack Shack. Sorry, but anyway. So WWE doesn't do the King of the Ring anymore, do they?
I don't think I've seen it like in a traditional sense since 2002 or something. It's been a long time.
But I mean, for those of you who don't know, it's basically an 8-man tournament.
Yep.
And Winner got a crown and a scepter and a what's that word? Cape. Cape's the word I'm looking for.
I was gonna say either that or robe.
Robe. That's the word. That's a better word. Yeah, not cape. I was thinking cape, and I'm like, that's not it.
I mean,
And
a lot of the people that won those tournaments too went on to have. I mean, not counting maybe your first two, because I mean your first two King of the Rings were already well established, but I mean, especially the ones, from really 95 on, like they went on to have pretty good careers in the company.
oh yeah, it became a vehicle to get. I mean, it elevated you took a mid card guy who you saw as somebody you could elevate to the main event, and like, hey, this is how we're going to do it.
Oh yeah.
Let's look up because I should have wrote this down. I don't know the previous winners. Let's see if I can Google this real quick.
Oh, no worries. I tried to look it up the other day, and I forgot to write it down myself, so I completely understand.
List of winners. Here we go. Okay, let's start. The era, because I mean it went all the way back. I did not realize it started in 1985. Don Morocco, Hall of Famer. Harley Race, the Hall of Famer.
Oh yeah.
So 87, Randy Savage. 88.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
You had the King Randy or King Savage gimmick for a while.
And 88 was Ted DiBiase, who beat Savage in the final, almost got it twice.
Oh, wow.
89, Tito Santana. Bret Hart, 91 and 93. Apparently they didn't have it in 92. Then here's where it really gets fun. 94, Owen Hart would have been one of the best ever. 95, we're going to forget about that one. It was Mabel's. We're not going to talk about that. 96, we're going to get there, and we're not going any farther. So yeah, it took mid card guys that you weren't necessarily having on top. Well, actually, I'm going to go ahead and because before that, Savage, top guy. DiBiase was up there, but not the guy. Bret Hart was, this was really when he rose. That was 91. Yeah, that was him. When did he come from Calgary? Like 90? So he hadn't been there that long.
He came as part of the whole, the new generation.
And basically starting with him was the mid-card guys coming up. And we'll get all the way up through, looks like the last one regularly was 2002. Then they look like they have it every 2-4 years whenever they need to book something. But yeah, after that, it's all a mid-card guy who they want to elevate. There's counting Hall of Famers here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 out of 9 is going to be a Hall of Famer. So it was a vehicle to get you over and elevate you. Yep. And the winner of this one is going to show exactly the greatest way to do that. So on the card here, we have, let's see, how many matches? The 2 semifinals for the King of the Ring. Mankind versus Taker. Now, this is Mankind, his crazy, unhinged gimmick, not the suit tie wearing, Sacco pulling, have a nice day, Mankind. Tag team title, Smoking Guns versus the Godwins. Intercontinental title, Gold Dust versus Ahmed Johnson. And the WWF title match, Shawn Michaels versus the British Bulldog with Mr. Perfect as the guest referee. And we'll get to that. Spoiler alert, no. He was not the special guest referee.
Yeah, I cannot wait to discuss that.
Yeah,
that's fun.
Yeah. So we start opening package. We see the Ultimate Warrior's returning in his debut match in his return versus Jerry the King Lawler. Yeah. You can't see Arnold, but he's sarcastically excited for the Ultimate Warrior. Yeah,
Warrior's back, baby.
Woo.
You can feel it. Can you feel it?
Hey, that promo just lasted longer than his matches. But anywho, so we start the show, and the stage, what we get used to by the end of the Attitude Era, this thing is small, like no big elaborate pyro, just it looked like a normal Raw. They decided to put some cardboard doors on and let them take.
Definitely mid-90s WWE, like
Yeah, it was
hands down.
Let's save some money. Owen joins for commentary, and that was great because Owen Hart talking about anything was great.
Oh, absolutely.
But I think the only problem with that was it absolutely showed just how terrible Vince was on commentary. It may just be me, but I have always hated Vince McMahon on commentary.
I was never a fan. Like, one of my favorite, is going to sound really weird, I guess, but not really. One of my favorite arcade games coming up was the WrestleMania, the arcade game.
Oh, yeah.
And how they would have little sound bites.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, I believe it was Vince McMahon and I believe Jerry King Lawler were on there. And yeah, this is like, even then, I just didn't like the sound of his voice.
But I've also realized that I think that may have been because we started with the Mr. McMahon character. Then when we watched old stuff, saw him on commentary, not the other way around.
Right.
So I think that might put it in perspective.
Honestly, it kind of does. But yeah, it kind of does.
But he's still garbage on commentary. Great promoter. Terrible commentary.
Oh, yeah.
Great on-screen personality.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so when they show the package of Austin in the King of the Ring tournament, and I didn't realize that it was the King of the Ring tournament where he first debuted the Stone Cold Stunner, because he was still using the $1 million Dream Hold.
Yeah, was using the $1 Million Dream. Yeah, he had debuted the Stone Cold Stunner against Savio Vega the week before at Raw.
Yeah,
in the quarterfinal.
I did. That's a piece of history that I didn't really remember. And how awesome was it to see Stone Cold working as a heel? That is so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
Like straight up, just bad heel. I mean, not bad as in terrible. Bad as in you're not the good guy.
No.
It was nice.
If you're in the ring with me, I'm going to hurt you. That is the reason I'm here.
Yep. And Sable and Marrow. Poor Mark Marrow, man. I felt bad for him with her, especially with her. Never have liked her like as a wrestler. As a model, go for it. That's your thing. But she was bad. But overall, this match was longer than what I expected.
Honestly, in my opinion, it was right where it needed to be. If you look at that package, you could tell from the beginning of the King of the Ring tournament, they were trying to push Austin to the moon. And you have Mark Marrow, who is not a bad performer at all. I like the Wild Man gimmick. He was really athletic. He was really energetic. He had the whole kind of, I don't know how to describe it, just the look about him. That,
his crazy mullet.
Yeah.
The crawling.
He may not have been pushed to be like a top guy in the company. You could kind of tell even at this time that they were still trying to figure out what to do with Mark Marrow.
Oh, I agree.
And the fact, if you look back at that match, they told a story in that match. Like, these two men, they beat the crap out of each other. You think about Austin had to go to the hospital after this match. So, the fact that this match went on for almost 17 minutes, just for the simple fact that, they let them go for, a quarter of an hour. Let's just think about it that way. And especially for them to let heel Austin come out on top of this match clean is just absolutely amazing to me.
Oh yeah,
and
that was good, right call, perfect call for the clean finish.
Absolutely. And my thing is, especially considering what happens next, like we'll talk about that in a second, but what happens next, the fact that, yeah, it needed to be that way. And I mean, to me, this is definitely a hell of an opener for your pay-per-view. And it's just weird, I guess, after, like you said, when we come in, Austin was already the big dog.
Yeah, this was nice to see the beginnings of this.
And, this is like, this dude was the ringmaster like a year before this. We didn't know who this guy was.
Yeah, he was nobody. I mean, he was in WCW as the him and Pillman in WCW, though. Go back and watch
the Flying Blondes or something like that.
Hollywood Blondes.
Hollywood Blondes. That was it. Yeah. Stunning Steve Austin and was it Flying Brian Pillman?
Yeah,
I believe it was. And just to see, and especially now going back and watching that, seeing Austin with hair. One of his greatest matches in ECW is him beating the snot out of Mikey Whipwreck, which is actually a pretty good match.
Yeah.
Like just seeing all that, and it's like no one is like, wow, Austin was like already big in these other promotions, and then to see him come here, and it's like, all right, now it's time to make a name for myself. And this match, beautiful. Even pulled out his WCW finisher on Mark Marrow.
Mm-hmm.
It was nice kind of seeing that stun gun, seeing JR kind of pop over that.
I did.
I was like, oh snap! Like what? And realistically, this was probably Mark Marrow's best match with the company, like hands down.
And
like
that shows Austin's ability.
Mm-hmm.
He was leading this thing. The only thing I saw is I even rewound it to watch it twice, is when he missed the Fez press. I don't know if he overjumped it or Marrow overran it, but he completely just stuck his nuts to his forehead.
Then
got up and looked like he gave him a stiff kick. So I'm thinking it might have been Marrow's fault on that one.
Because I did notice that, like, and that's another thing that kind of makes this beautiful about this match is like you're watching Austin, and he hasn't. I want to say he hasn't perfected his like signature moves that we know him by. Like we've seen him do a stun gun. I mean, he can probably do that in his sleep by this point. But seeing a very, very crude Fez press, seeing
with no pistons afterwards.
Right, yeah, and seeing that, and seeing a very, very like crude Stone Cold Stunner. Like I'm used to seeing him flip a dude off, kick him in the gut, stunner, and just to see him just kind of casually grab Marrow and just boop.
Yeah. There's like, wait a minute. What am? Oh no. And I think I've read one time where he said it was I think it was DiBiase told him to put the kick in there. I could be wrong on that, but I remember he said somebody in the back told him, said instead of awkwardly trying to grab it, kick him. You get him in the spot, turn around, pop.
Right, and plus that, I mean, that sets you up, and the crowd knows what's coming.
Yeah,
and
that's another
even
thing.
If you're just doing it to set it up for another move, you're going to get a pop on that toe kick anyway. Because I mean, it's like, oh, is he going to hit the stunner? And it's like, no, he's just going to elbow the guy in the back of the head. And, okay.
Yeah, and this one was like, well, I guess that's it.
Right, and I mean, it seemed, I don't know how to describe it. Like it seemed awkward, and I give Marrow credit for selling it, but Marrow kind of oversold it.
Yeah, not to the level of The Rock, though.
Oh no, like I loved watching The Rock take a stunner though, because he would oversell. He'd do backflips, cartwheels.
Oh yeah,
sign a couple autographs on the way down, and he's just like, "Good God, dude!" It's like, we get it, man. Like it's a deadly move. It was like Marrow, like holding his neck. I mean, obviously, he worked the neck or whatever, but if you notice when Austin goes for the pin and Marrow's still kind of flailing, one of his, like the shoulder that's on the camera side is not touching the mat.
Yep.
I mean, he had it was at least a 2 count. Like,
Yeah. I
it
did.
was just kind of interesting.
And the part of the match that really I didn't like is I didn't like Austin going for the Boston Crab out of nowhere. I know he was working the back, but I like a heel working more of your high impact elbows to the back or drop, not a submission hold. I didn't get, to me, that's just maybe not, but overall,
Yeah,
I
it
gave
didn't seem.
I mean, I thought it was a good match. Like you said, I think
Oh
it was
yeah,
Mero's best match, especially after they give him the marvelous boxer gimmick, and that was just awful.
that
But
was
yeah,
awful.
I mean, and credit goes to Austin. He got something out of something I thought was going to be nothing, honestly. Because I'm like, I've seen Mero, but never thought he could work that great. But
Right.
I gave this a B.
B.
I gave it a B.
I'm actually inclined to agree with that. I gave it the same rating. I was like, honestly, I mean, there was really nothing wrong with the match itself. Like, it was a great match. They told a great story. The
And not,
storytelling probably could have been a little better, in my opinion. But I mean, other than that, I wouldn't change anything about that match.
and this is something going back to why we hate today's wrestling that young guys need to learn. Not every match is the top of the card match at WrestleMania. It's not the headliner at WrestleMania.
Nope.
You need a solid opening match to start the show. I mean, if you win the jackpot on the very first time playing slots, are you going to stick any more nickels in?
Nope.
No.
Cash out and head out.
So Austin wins with the stunner, and we both give it a B. I like that. All right. Next, we had a Doc Hendricks, which I hate calling him Doc Hendricks. My God, that is Michael Hay. Please. Doc, ugh. He was a free bird, not Jimi Hendrix. That irritates me to this day.
Agreed.
I mean, but anywho, that's just another McMahon thing. Doc Hendricks. Sorry, no. Can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it, man. I can't call him Doc Hendricks. Michael Hayes backstage interview with Jake the Snake Roberts. And Jake cuts, his standard religious promo that he's his Bible gimmick at this time. And at first, I was really going to like rip Jake for being a terrible, horrible human being. But then after watching the Dark Side of the Ring documentary the other day and realizing just how messed up his life was, I want to hold back on that a little bit. And I mean, Jake's still a scumbag. Don't get me wrong, but I'm going to back off the criticism a little bit. But I didn't think this was that great of a promo. I thought it was a little short. I didn't really see too much of a point of it overall. I mean, I just gave it a C plus. I mean, it was there. Told why Jake's there. And we'll get into it more, but were they trying to bury Jake through this whole thing? This whole show? Did he have heat somewhere with somebody? Because I mean, how old's Jake again? He's 81 years old. Shut up, Owen. He's 41. I mean, really, they tried to make him like this old timer.
True.
Like, I don't know.
It's like, I mean, it was like, I get it. It's like, dude's up there. You know what I mean? I was like, I get that. And
I mean,
you don't need to rub it in my face,
Yeah. What'd they say? He was 41 at this point?
Yeah.
I think. Let's Google Jake's age.
I was like, yeah, I'm not 100% sure on that because, like,
Jake was born in 55, so yeah, he would have been 41. I mean, that's not. I mean, granted, with all of his extracurricular activities, he looked like he was 80, but still, I mean,
right.
I mean, spoiler alert, you're going to have this guy in the finals. Are you really wanting to bury him before you put him against Austin? That's the only gripe I've had with this whole show is the way they buried Jake with his age.
Speaking of burials, let's talk about that match with Vader.
Oh, yeah.
Here comes Vader with Jim Cornette now, and I was like, and I'm not getting on Vader at all. Late great Vader, Big Van Vader. I'm a fan of Vader. I've
Oh, I
always
was a
enjoyed Vader.
big fan.
Like, you talk about a legitimate. I'm gonna get as close to the mic as I can. A legitimate badass. Vader is the definition of that. I've seen this man in interviews when they ask him if wrestling is the F word, flip a table and say, is that fake to you? I'm
I
sure
know
that
the interviewer
reporter pissed themselves.
Do you know the background of that interview?
I do not.
Dude was in the Middle East when an interviewer asked him was it fake, and he flipped out, and they put him in jail, and they almost did not let him out to come back to America because of that.
Oh my God. I believe it though, because
dude respected the business and fought for its integrity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you haven't seen that, go to YouTube and look up Vader versus reporter or something to that effect. And it's crazy.
He went in. This is a man who, I believe this was in Japan, got hit with a stiff punch.
Stan Hansen, clotheslining, yep. I believe.
Yeah, it was stiff. And I believe that was one his eye popped out, right? And he popped it right back into place in the ring.
And finished the match.
And finished the match.
Like, it was, you can see this on YouTube. His eye is dangling. And he just reaches up. You can't see me right now, like he's putting in a contact lens, except it's his eyeball.
Like, it's happened probably several times before to this guy. I mean, Vader is a huge man.
Yeah.
Like, and you can look up countless stuff online where people say, yeah, he works stiff.
Mm-hmm.
And it shows. Like, this dude was a superstar in Japan.
Yep.
Like, he was a star in WCW. And quite frankly, I don't think he was given enough of a chance in WWE, but that's just me. But
I mean, Vince wanted to bring him in under the mastodon and make him a prehistoric creature.
Mm-hmm. So he comes in to this match against Jake the Snake Roberts, who, we have confirmed was in his 40s at this time. Of course, the match starts. Vader does what Vader does. Just beats the snot out of this poor man. And with a stroke of, in my opinion, luck, Jake hits the DDT. But lo and behold, Vader magically shoves Mike Chioda over with the wind. And
I mean, what was with that? If you're going to have Jake hit the DDT, why have Vader disqualified? That booking made no sense to me.
Yeah, that whole thing, I don't know what happened there, because even when they had the audacity to show the replay, and it's like, you look at the replay, I mean, Jake is doing the DDT, they're doing the move, Vader kind of just flails his arm out, and Kyoto's just like, oh, and falls, and it's like, as he's falling, the bell rings. So he's like, you mean to tell me he didn't signal for the timekeeper to hit the bell? Like, he just kind of, I'm going to fall over, and oh, snap, that's my cue. Ding, ding, ding.
I mean, I get that they're trying to set up the post-match beatdown to injure Jake, but there had to have been a million different ways. And I guess they didn't want Vader to lose. Then if you don't want him to lose, don't book him in the match.
Absolutely.
I can't remember, who did Vader beat? Vader beat what? Who did he beat to get here? Shoot, I can't remember.
Goodness. I know in the quarterfinal he had a bye because the first round of the match that would have fought Vader was disqualification. So both guys got DQ'd.
That's
so I think
okay.
Warrior was one of them.
Yeah. Let's see. So Vader, he had a bye before this. Okay, so you had Ahmed Johnson versus Vader, and Vader beat him by pin. Then you had double count out versus Goldust and the Warrior, and that's why Vader had the bye. Okay, why put Vader in the tournament if you're just don't want him to lose?
That's a good question.
Put somebody else there.
Or they could at least made the disqualification more believable. I mean,
Yeah.
you have the legendary Jim Cornette in your corner.
Yeah.
Like, this man carries a tennis racket. I mean, he could have smacked Roberts over the head. I mean, at this point, you're already preparing to like demolish this poor guy. So it's like, why not just crack him over the head one good time with the racket? Kyoto sees it, call it. All right. And then Vader's like, what? I lost. He's upset with Cornette. Cornette's like, hey, man, like, look, I was just trying to help you out. You know, he had the DDT. And obviously, you're not going to take it out on your manager this time. So you take it out on Jake the Snake. You can still set up the injured ribs. I would have been happier with that finish than the one we got.
Yeah. Here's off the top of my head. Vader whips Jake into the corner, runs over, does the Vader splash, then starts doing the elbows to the gut. And does it 4 or 5 times. Kyoto, 1, 2, 3, tries to pull what's his face back. He just keeps going. It tries to pull him back again. Then he pushes the ref. Jake has injured ribs because he's sitting there just beating the crap out of him. You get your disqualification. Vader still acting like a heel. Didn't realize he was pushing the ref, but still acting like he was mad. Then you can still do the post-match beatdown. Anything other than the phantom push to the ref, which even if it would have landed and he would have grabbed the ref, great. Why? Why would he do that? Why is Vader trying to grab a 160-pound Mike Chioda, who one of the greatest refs ever, never should have let him go? Anywho, why is he trying to grab for support on Mike Chioda? Is he?
Especially, I mean, he's a 300-pound behemoth. Like, he would pull me down trying to do that. Like, and I'm a little heavier than Chioda is, or was at the time at least. I mean, there's no way.
So we get Vader disqualified. Jake wins, moves on. Vader's pissed and just starts beating the ever-loving crap out of Jake. Vader bombs him, damages the ribs. I don't know.
I mean, that's pretty much all there is to that match when you think about it.
Cornette blocking the ref in the corner so he couldn't help. That was gold. I miss good managers.
Oh, yeah.
That was a good thing about watching this. And on Jimmy Hart on Nitro, Cornette on here. So many good managers came out of Memphis or Indiana.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Heenan. I mean, right now we've got
Body the brain.
Hart, Cornette. I mean, now what do we have today? Did you hear those crickets, people? That's exactly right. Managers are gone. Yeah. All right. So I gave that one a C. It was there. I mean, wasn't much. C's probably being great, being generous.
Ooh, yeah, you were a lot more generous than me. I gave that a D-. I'm sorry, man. Like, that could have gone on a little bit longer. And like you said earlier, they could have gotten the same exact finish they wanted. But I mean, yeah, like 3 minutes. Like, even if they'd had Vader go in, beat the snot out of Roberts, get DQ'd magically somehow, and then beat the crap out of him some more, they could have pushed that to 5 minutes. I mean, and that's just me. Like, I had to give it a D- for that one. That was, the finish was just too weak, and the bump wasn't really what it should have been.
Yeah, I don't know if it was just even if it was exactly what it should have been, it was terrible.
Right.
It was. All right, so we'll move on. Then we get Jim Cornette and Vader pissed in the bathroom. I love this because that bathroom screamed old building.
Yes, very much so. Like, that was funny. Very funny.
I mean, it was the old yellow brick. I mean, it was great.
Kind of reminded me of the hallway in my apartment building, honestly.
It reminded me a lot of my high school's bathroom. We had one with that exact yellow brick.
Oh my, I'm thinking about it. I'm pretty sure my middle school did too.
Yeah, oh, our middle school was a little newer, but yeah, our high school had that bathroom.
Oh goodness. And just the rage
Ah,
on Invader was perfect. And you have like poor Jim Cornette there who's like scared for his life. You have this giant mountain of man just grabbing you by your collar, screaming like, "I'm the king of the ring," right?
yeah, then
You could be
Cornette's.
whatever you want to, Vader.
I mean, any promo Cornette cuts I'm going to love because I mean, the man was gold with a mic.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
And it's like you said, man, like the other day when we were on the phone chatting, like that man has probably forgotten more about professional wrestling than I'll ever know.
Oh, no doubt in my mind. No doubt in my
Like
mind.
to be able to sit, like there's, we might have to end up doing like a top 10, like manager wrestling personality thing. Cause like, you know,
Ooh,
just sitting here, like you name those
yeah.
guys off. And like I've said this about Paul Heyman like several times. It's like I would love to just sit and pick his brain about like just what he's experienced. Like, you know, I don't care about the, oh, well, you know, this guy and this guy used to fight all the time. You know, I don't care about that, you know, the dirty stuff. Like, I just want to hear, like, tell me about your time, your experiences.
Oh
And
yeah.
Jim
Oh,
Cornette,
him
I
and
mean, we're
Jim
talking about,
Crockett. Him and Jim
oh
Crockett
man,
with him versus Cornette. Oh man, I could go. Yeah,
like, we're
that's.
talking about for Cornette alone, like a 30, 40 year career in this business, man. Like, just the stories that man does tell, you
Oh,
know?
and dear WWE, why is the Midnight Express not in the Hall of Fame? Going off on a tangent here, but yeah, why are they not there?
Crickets, people.
Man, I know Cornette blasts your product, but still, him and the Midnight need to be in the Hall of Fame.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I miss managers. Speaking of tag teams, that's a good segue. Our next match, the Godwins versus the Smoking Guns for the WWF Tag Team titles. Smoking Guns are the champs. I don't know what set this match up. I didn't really pay attention to it because I see the Godwins and I tune out. Not gonna lie.
It was
That gimmick is offensive to me, being from West Virginia.
it was
I realize they're from Kentucky though.
Sunny related, I want to say.
I
Had
think
something to do with Sunny.
I know she kissed Bart Gunn or Billy or one of them and distracted the Godwins in a match. I mean, how thirsty do you have to be to get distracted in a title match by a woman kissing another man? Kissing on the mouth. I mean, I'm not saying anything else, but how thirsty you got to be.
So I think yeah, Sunny was definitely a focal point in this match. Um the fact that, you know, she was bouncing around between the tag teams, you know, with the Smoking Guns. I believe she was with the Godwins there for a minute, the Body Donnas.
Oh,
And it also we got to see our good friend Cloudy, the Body Donna's new manager
yeah,
in
I'm
this
not
one.
touching that with a 10-foot pole. I'm probably just going to gloss over that and pretend that never existed.
That's probably
Because
for the best.
let's just put it this way, folks. If you haven't seen it, the Body Donnas lost Sunny when she turned her back on him and went to the Smoking Guns. They replaced her with a 6'2" man with a stuffed push-up bra and tattoos, and pretended to call her Cloudy instead of Sunny. And yep, that was a thing. So we'll
It
get to
is
more of
kind of
that.
funny.
We'll get to that a little more on Raw. They just showed it and she talked about it for a couple seconds and so yeah, that's happening. But this match, I mean, Billy Gunn, it's hard to believe that man is still going in the ring. He's
No doubt.
I think he's 51, 52 at this point. I mean, today, not 1996, because he was 52 in 1996, he definitely wouldn't be wrestling at 80. I mean, it's happened, but
I was like, how rare is that? But yeah, shoot. I mean, yeah. I mean, honestly, like the smoking guns were wow, like a textbook heel tag team in this match. It
yep.
was amazing, and you think about that in contrast to the Godwins. I like this match didn't make me a believer in them being the baby faces of the match.
Especially, I consider this almost a heel versus heel match because why does the baby faces have a manager?
Right. I was
They had
like, yeah,
Hillbilly
that's what
Jim
I was
out
sitting there
there,
trying to
WWE
like,
Hall of Famer, Hillbilly Jim.
Billy Jim. And yeah, I mean, it's like it's weird to me. And yeah, I just don't feel like they weren't really believable as faces. Like, and especially with just the way they were moving, their actions in the ring, they were more heel like. You look at how the match ended, which obviously the Guns won that match. They retained their championship. It wasn't clean.
Nope.
And it was just like not necessarily a switch per se, but it's like the Godwins kind of forgot that they were the faces of the match.
Yeah.
And we're
It
like, you
was,
know what? Let's just get DQ'd. It's no big deal.
yeah, they were in that gray area big time.
Oh, yeah. And it works in some cases, and those cases are rare that you can get a heel versus heel match that is for a title or something, and it'd be like, okay, you know what? I believe this match actually turned out to be awesome. But and I mean, we see a lot of that throughout the Attitude Era, and it's just like these guys who are 1 week you're cheering for them, the next week you're booing them, and they're good at that. And we see a lot of that in the coming era. But if you look at this card, wow, we're starting to see glimpses of the Attitude Era. I mean, you look at how, okay, I'll use the female managers who were in this card, for example, Sable, Sunny, Marlena. Look at how they were dressed, for example, in
Yep.
comparison to, Sensational Sherry and Miss Elizabeth, for example, out of the previous era. Like, they came out in beautiful gowns, jet dresses, just real fancy. Well, except when Sherry and Savage did the heel run, that was kind of bizarre.
Yeah.
But
Not the norm.
like,
Definitely not
right.
the norm.
And you look at, Sable came out in the night. I mean, it was a beautiful dress, but it was like kind of revealing.
A little bit. And Sunny, man,
yeah,
she came out hotter than a $2 pistol.
Oh yeah, and I mean, and if you, in my honest opinion, like it was kind of the highlight of the match. Like,
yep, that was.
It was kind of like they focused on her a lot,
which
and
they
I mean,
should really. She's the most talented out of the four here, I believe. I mean, she was.
Enough. I mean,
you put a mic in her mouth, and that was print money. I mean, not to take anything away from Bart and Billy Gunn or the Godwins even necessarily. I mean, I think they're a good tag team, good solid mid-card tag team. They got stuck with an absolute garbage gimmick.
Yep. Oh yeah.
I mean, we're a couple months away from, I can't remember which Godwin it was, had a hog pin match with Triple H. I mean, they literally fought. They built a hog pen with mud and real pigs and had a, air quotes, wrestling match in a hog pen.
Oh Lord.
I mean, that was I think that was part of Triple H's punishment for the curtain call. Had to be. I'm pretty sure it happened afterwards. If not, I would have walked out on the company when somebody said you're going to go in pig slop on pay-per-view.
Like, beg your pardon? I was like, I'm going to try my chances back down south and be terrorizing again. Screw that.
Not only was it on pay-per-view, They replayed it on Raw the next night, the entire match. I mean, that's smack you in the face. We're punishing you.
Oh yeah, that was definitely like blatant, you know. Like you think about it, after that whole thing happened, Trips lost a lot.
Yep.
Like he lost a lot. And a matter of fact, we'll just say lost his throne, so to speak.
Yep.
Yeah, this King of the Ring 96 was his to win.
Yep. It was supposed to be his coming out. But he decided to play tickle taint with his best friends in Madison Square Garden and break kayfabe in front of everybody. Yep.
Oh yeah.
It was not a smart decision for him.
Not at all.
Two guys leaving the 2 guys Vince can't punish because they're not his employees anymore after tonight. One's holding your belt, so what are you going to do to him? How did he think that was going to? I don't know. That can be a whole separate podcast we can go into.
That's a whole episode on its own there.
Yep. So what did you end up rating this thing?
The Guns and Godwins, I gave it a C+. Like,
okay.
It could have been better. I mean, it could have been a lot better. And honestly, had maybe the Godwins taped the sign that says "We're the faces of this match" on the back of each other's overalls, they might have had a better. Like the Guns' dirty win would have been a little more believable had it been the Guns. You know what I mean? And like I said, again, you know, shout out again to Sonny, because you know you watched it obviously. They focused on her a lot in that, and the whole time they were focused on her, she was active, she was into the match, she was, you know, hitting the mat, clapping, screaming, you know, doing what heel managers are supposed to do. And
you do know who taught Sonny, don't you? The aforementioned Jim Cornette in Smoky Mountain Wrestling.
That makes perfect sense.
She was there. She was with Chris Candido when he came down. He found them in, I believe it was New Jersey, up at a show for Dennis Coralluzzo. I could be wrong on that, but I'm almost 90% positive. And I know she was in Smoky Mountain Wrestling, which, folks, if you're listening and you've never seen any of that, I'm not going to say yes or no, it's on YouTube, but go look at some of that. Great wrestling. Cheap and on a budget, don't let that fool you. Good. A lot of good people came out of there.
A lot of big names came through Smoky Valley. Oh,
Kane, yeah. Al Snow, Dirty White Boy was there. I mean, you had Paul Orndorff down there. I mean, a lot of good Southern wrestling. But yeah, I gave that a C. And honestly, the match was probably a D, and Sonny pulled it up to a C. All right. So after that, we have backstage with Jim Cornette and the British Bulldog. And Mr. Perfect is getting dressed in Camp Cornette's locker room.
Dun, dun, dun.
Which honestly, him getting dressed was probably the most work he did all night. Spoiler alert. But Davey Boy promo, I thought it was a good promo, you know, hyping his match with Shawn Michaels for the title tonight. Wasn't anything great, wasn't anything bad. It was there. I gave it a C because I mean it was there. It was did what it was supposed to do.
Oh yeah, it was a solid C.
You're not going to remember it tomorrow, but you're not going to remember it tomorrow for a bad reason either.
No, like it was a solid C. It was definitely solid. It was a solid promo. Let's be honest here. Nobody in their right mind would pick the British Bulldog over Shawn Michaels in '96. Are you kidding me?
No,
like, nobody. And the fact that, I'm not downplaying Davey Boy Smith's work at all. Like, the man is excellent in his craft. He was fun to watch back then. And
he was.
The fact that, he had this match coming up with Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels, of course, is Shawn Michaels at this time. We'll just put it at that.
Yeah. Not the most professional person on the planet.
No, like if prima donna were a person. But exactly. I mean, but shoot, I mean, Bulldog definitely made a name for himself. Like, I mean, he's in good with the Hearts. Did work at the Heart Dungeon, the infamous Heart Dungeon. And you look at all the names that came out of there.
I'm waiting for
Of
the
course,
document.
Brett and Owen,
Brett, Owen,
Jim Neidhart.
Bulldog. Was Dynamite Kid there? I can't remember. I know he was from England, but did he go to the Heart Dungeon?
I'm not 100% sure.
I know he wrestled in Calgary, but I don't know if he ever trained in the dungeon or did he just go there.
I'm not 100% sure.
Good.
Neidhart. And I mean, even if you look further down the line, Lance Storm went through the Heart Dungeon. Chris Jericho, and that's where they got their start, was in the Heart Dungeon. And
Chris Jericho, Smoky Mountain Wrestling, folks, had one match.
Yeah, that's right.
Wrestled a tag team match with a broken arm. Idiot was practicing a shooting star press that he wasn't even going to do in the match the day before his debut pay-per-view. Well, I can't call it pay-per-view back then, but big show match he was going to have. And he broke his arm the morning of practicing a shooting star press. It's hard to believe now, looking at canned ham, fat, overweight Chris Jericho, that he could even think of the word shooting star press, but he used to be athletic.
Used to be a cruiserweight.
He used to be good. But anywho. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
so,
it's like, yeah.
So same as before, I gave this a C. It's there. It's not anything special.
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
I'll say, yeah, definitely solid C. Like, it is, like you said, it did exactly what it was supposed to do. Like, it was a textbook promo. Let's put it that. It was a textbook promo. They were hyping up their match.
And
with a little bit of spice with Mr. Perfect.
And if people are listening, wondering, how are they giving all these C's? There's nothing wrong with a C. Every show needs a C match, a C promo. It's nothing. It's right down the middle. It's good. C's not bad. C's just, it's there. And that's what you need. If everything is great, then nothing's great. You need your baseline.
And WWF 1996, a C is pretty valuable.
I will tell you right now, Davey Boy's promo, I give a C. Looking through, if he had that same promo on WWE or AEW today, it'd be an A. Because everything else would be garbage. Because wrestlers can't talk now. They don't let them. They either WWE scripts it, or AEW has all these indie kids who have never talked in ever, because they go out and have the same match over and over, and that's it on indie shows every 3 months. But I'm not going to get into why I don't like AEW, but I'll give you bits and pieces every once in a while, folks. All right, so spoiler alert, since we actually talked about this on text a little bit the other night, next segment, we're going to argue a little bit because we disagree with this one, I think, a lot.
You might be surprised.
Oh, I thought, the next thing that happened on this show was Lawler's entrance to the ring.
Speaking of Smoky Valley.
Yeah, he appeared there a few times. But the greatest wrestler from Memphis makes his way to the ring with a mic in hand, and he was just straight up heel insulting the crowd, making fun of Milwaukee and pointing out audience members and calling women ugly. I mean, just straight up trying to get his reaction and getting it. He was getting it. It was good. I loved it. But I thought you didn't. I believe you want to say what you thought about it?
All right. So, and I'll be honest, I sent that text before I went back and rewatched it again. So I was going to give you that. I'll give you that precursor. Okay. So, of course, we live in a modern world where, let's be real, the heat that Lawler would have got for that promo today, even in the WWE today, well, obviously not today because, cameras and Thunderdomes and stuff, but, in front of a live crowd.
Yeah.
To say this man would have gotten canceled on the spot is an understatement. They wouldn't have let him out onto the stage. They'd be like, oh, no. Just go back to your room. You're done tonight. We know what you're about to do. And looking at it from that perspective, just of today's product, it seems a lot. It seems kind of cringy. Like looking back, like, oh my God, he's like making fun of kids and women. And I mean, obviously, wrestlers still bury cities. So it was like, that's a thing.
Yeah, but he was
But
straight up. He would point at a woman who was. I'm not gonna say she was huge, but she wasn't. Let's say 105 pounds, skinny thing, and goes, and he would just
Rubenesque.
straight up just say, "You fat." I mean, and that's heel work. I mean, did he really mean it? No, no. Was he being honest? No. Was his character meaning it? Yes, 100%. Was it just to get a reaction? Is all it was.
Absolutely. And that brings me to my second point there. Like I said, I went back and I rewatched it, but I didn't watch it through the 2021 lens. I watched it through a wrestling fan's lens. Like, growing up in this time, like watching wrestling in this time. And not like to say that, I mean, Lawler got the perfect amount of heat in that. And he did it the right way. He did it how the old guys did it. And I mean, he did it how it's supposed to be done. He
Yep.
walked out there, he might have had something in his locker room on a piece of paper. He just wrote down F this city and just proceeded to bury people in the crowd. He buried the entire city. He buried Warrior, and he did it all within, like, honestly, the promo was probably longer than the match.
Probably, yeah. He just walked around. It
And
was like a couple minutes and walked in the ring, and
as soon as they
it
heard
probably wasn't
Lawler's
even that
music,
long.
they heard his music, saw him walk out with a mic. The boo birds were out in full effect. And like I said, going back and rewatching that, it's like, it's not like I don't know who this man is. It's not like I don't know what he's capable of. I've seen what he's capable of a lot. Even on commentary, he could bury anyone
Hmm.
and get all kinds of heat. And I'd say still to this day, Lawler's probably somewhere out getting heat somewhere.
Oh, wouldn't
But
doubt it. At a restaurant in Memphis.
ribs came out dry, burying the
Oh,
whole kitchen staff as we speak.
he actually owns a restaurant in Memphis too. So,
I'll have to check that out whenever I can get back down to Memphis.
hey, I'll go with you. But yeah, this was
Right
great.
on.
I mean, like you said, if you look at it through today's eyes, no, the man would never be allowed on television again. But then
No.
when you realize it's wrestling, it is what it is. It was the '90s. Still, he didn't. I don't think he meant it really in reality, but still, it was a great promo. I mean, Jerry King Lawler with a microphone in his hand is just straight gold every time. I gave this
Every
one a
time.
straight up A.
Gave it an A. And honestly, I'm inclined to agree. I did the same thing. Like I said, I had to go back and rewatch it because, like, yeah, I had to watch it through a different lens because watching it through 2021, it's like, what were they thinking? Why did they do this? But I mean, looking at it in perspective, especially to the time period, masterpiece.
Yeah.
Straight up masterpiece. With his music going in the background, it's all regal and everything. And he's just
Mhm.
like, yeah, you're all a bunch of drunks and losers, lulls. And it was just great.
This is what they should play at the Performance Center to teach rookies in NXT how to do promos.
Oh, yeah.
Just or go back and watch 1982 Lawler, 83 Lawler in Memphis. Look that up on if it's on YouTube, and you would go, "Oh, good gracious, this guy is amazing." And we go from the top of the mountain to the bottom of the valley. The match: Jerry the King Lawler versus Ultimate Warrior. I wrote a lot of stuff, honestly. That here's the beginning of the match, folks. This is the Ultimate Warrior's return match coming back to WCW. Lawler jumped from behind with his scepter and chokes Vader, Ultimate Warrior. Okay. Tosses the Ultimate Warrior into steps, more choking. Great. 15. Here's another thing that today's wrestling can't figure out. I timed it. They were out on the floor for 15 seconds and got back in. The ref was counting 1, 2, 3. Okay, great. I,
Time is relative, my friend.
yeah, I don't know. Nowadays, it's like, why do you even have a ring? Everything's just done on the outside. But this match went, what, 4 minutes tops?
I don't even think it hit 4 minutes.
I don't.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think it was 4 minutes long. It was an Ultimate Warrior match. Like,
Lawler
it
got
did not
heat.
last.
Lawler got heat on Warrior, pile drives him. Warrior completely no sells it, stands up, and just rope shakes. 3 absolutely terrible looking clotheslines. I mean, Lawler is probably the single greatest worker in history, and Warrior still look like garbage.
Yeah, it was just, I mean, it was
3
like,
terrible.
to no, like, no fault to Lawler. Like, it was a sloppy match. Like, it was sloppy, and yeah, it was just sloppy. And honestly, especially knowing what we know now about what happens after this with Warrior, kind of a giant middle finger, and it's like, we know you're known for your squash matches for the most part. And that's not discrediting the man. I mean, the man is a Hall of Famer. I mean, it took a while, but we know why. But like, and honestly, it stemmed from, well, the events that follow King of the Ring 96. But it was just, and even at this point, Warrior wasn't really around. He wasn't really doing a whole lot at this point. And you could tell the man was fed up with the company by this point. And it was just, I'm sorry, like, the match as a whole was just brought down.
Yep,
It was just brought down.
So, yep, 3 terrible clotheslines, Warrior shoulder tackles, Warrior wins 1, 2, 3. Lawler was great, Warrior was garbage. He did 2 moves, and they both looked like crap.
Yep.
And I wrote, I ended this. Why was he ever considered good? Whoever. I mean, I have if I'm rating the top 100 greatest professional wrestlers of all time, Warrior is probably around 2,436th. I mean, the man was garbage as a professional wrestler. As a gimmick, great. High energy, run to the ring, shake the ropes, 30-second match. He was Goldberg with less talent.
And tassels.
I mean, he was more tassels, less talent.
And I want to throw this little bonus tidbit in here. And this is for you or anyone else who has watched or may even go back and watch King of the Ring 96. Note Vince McMahon's reaction when Warrior comes out. Like, it's a huge, like, I think Vince McMahon might have popped more than the crowd did whenever Warrior's music hit.
Vince loves muscles.
Oh yeah, that's the meme, right? It's like, Vince McMahon loves big sweaty men.
Yeah, but I gave this a C, and that's honestly all Lawler. The promo walking in probably swayed my opinion. Lawler, everything he did was clean. You couldn't see through it. It looked great. Everything Warrior did was the absolute garbage. I gave it a C. What about you?
I gave it a C minus.
C minus.
Like,
I thought I was rough.
Lawler saved it from a D. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Yeah,
if Lawler come out there and looked sloppy, and Warrior looked sloppy, and they just kind of flabbed their arms into one another, and then Warrior magically pinned Lawler, I'll probably just be like, you know what? I'm just not going to talk about this one. But I mean, the fact that Lawler really did everything he was supposed to do at this point, like that saved it for me. Lawler made that entertaining.
Lawler was 47 at this point and could still work like that. Lawler could probably still work like this.
Oh yeah, I was like, shoot. I mean, as I was like, I'm pretty sure. Now I know it was a super gimmicky match, but I mean, I believe it was one year at WrestleMania he had that goofy match with Michael Cole,
And he made Michael
and,
Cole look good.
and he made Michael Cole look good. And you think, I mean, Lawler's probably in his 60s at this point, just maybe even his 70s by then.
Yep.
And it's like, and he was still able to do something in the ring. It's like that just goes to show, man, these guys. That says a lot about these guys. Like even these older guys. I mean,
They learned how to.
Yeah.
I mean, when he came in, it was hit soft, make it look hard. Nowadays, it's let's hit hard and make it look soft, and it's just hit hard. I mean, guys back then, they'd hit all these big moves and things, and they really wasn't any impact. It's called working and making it look good. Now it's the strong style where they want to make it look like it actually hurt because it actually hurts. I don't understand that at all.
So your guess is as good as mine on that one. Like, yeah. I don't get it either.
And you wonder why people like Will Ospreay are having neck and back injuries that are almost career ending, and he's 28. Lawler's working here at 47. Lawler still has matches every once in a while, and he's 70.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not just he's taking bumps at 70, and Will Ospreay can't take one at 28. And nobody clues in to why today's wrestling is stupid.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look at any local promotion you see in your area. Like, if you, I mean, you go to a gas station or somewhere like that, and you see posters for like, local guys, and you might see some guys who are, known in the region or even nationally. And then you see usually 2 or 3 guys who had spent time in WCW, WWE, ECW, and places like that. Older guys, like there was a event down around Charleston a while back, or it was probably a few weeks back, and Mr. Hughes was there. You remember Mr. Hughes?
Yeah.
Yeah, like Mr. Hughes was there. I mean, this man's got to be at least in his 50s by now. And it's like he's out here working. I'm pretty sure Justin Credible still does work from time to time. He's got to be getting up there.
Yeah.
And it's Mr. like I follow a lot of these guys on Twitter. Even.
Mr. Hughes he's 56. So yeah.
It's like, yeah, 56. Like he's about to ring 60's doorbell, and this dude's out here working.
Because he learned how to work.
Exactly. Yeah. Like Al Snow, I think I sent you that picture that I took with Al Snow at the convention.
Yeah.
And I mean, you look at Al Snow. Al Snow looks ripped still.
Yeah,
dude. Like,
way more jacked than he ever was.
Right. And his arms are huge, man. And I mean, Al Snow's got to be getting up there for sure. I mean, he's got to be in his 40s, 50s as well. And it's like,
I'd say he's closer to 60 at this point. I mean, early 90s,
he was still working.
Early, like 92, he was working. 92, 93, he was working in Smoky Mountain. So yeah. So Al Snow is he's 63. He was born in 63. So somebody do some math.
63. So
56.
He is 50, 63.
56.
58.
58. Sorry, 58. I suck at math. Yeah, 58 years old. I guarantee he could have a better match today than 90% of the people out there.
Oh, yeah. And I almost wanted to ask him that. I was like, do you still work any? Like, because I mean, he looked great.
He owns OVW in Louisville.
That he does.
He bought it from Danny Davis when Danny Davis retired. So he teaches, has his own school. I'm sure he still.
Say that. I think he does still work, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he gets in there and teaches and actually does hands-on.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he was one. I remember, yeah, he was one of the judges for Tough Enough back in the day.
Yep.
So it's like, yeah, I mean, man obviously knows his stuff.
So what we take out of that, Lawler great, Warrior suck.
Yes.
All right. So then we move on. We have a backstage interview with Gorilla Monsoon. How great was it to hear Gorilla Monsoon again? Man.
Late great Gorilla Monsoon.
Had the voice. Reporting on Jake the Snake's rib injuries. I mean, again, they start burying Jake over his age. Why are you burying him when you're going to, spoiler alert, want him to put your big guy over in this? Why
Mm,
make him look like a sack of crap?
yeah, couldn't figure that one out.
And this just showed me Owen Hart was great on commentary and just keeps making Vince look terrible. But I did cringe. I did cringe a little bit. I hated to hear it when Owens told Jake might lose his life in this match. And I'm like, oh, comment did not age well.
No, it did not.
But
Not at all.
But Owen's great on commentary. I didn't really grade this because it wasn't long enough. It was just a report in the back, no promo or anything.
Oh yeah, kind of to set up the final match between him and Austin more than anything.
Yeah, the final of the King of the Ring. Then we come to Mankind versus Taker. Oh, this match was a
Beautiful.
breath of fresh air.
Beautiful.
This is how you take a gimmick, find the right guy, not give somebody a gimmick. Like today, it was a report yesterday. Vince doesn't want wrestlers. He wants people to play characters. And he wonders why nobody wants to watch his crap.
Nope. So what do you expect, my dude?
Was the Undertaker gimmick stupid as it evolved into an undead, demonic, whatever? Yeah, was it? But Mark Calloway played that thing perfectly. Could anybody else have done that? No.
No.
Not at all. Mankind, which Vince, when he first met Mick Foley, wanted him to be Mason the Mutilator. And Cactus came up with, with Texas, kind of like a playoff Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh.
Yeah. And Mick Foley was like, no. So he came up with this Mankind thing. And could anybody else have done that?
Absolutely not.
No.
Absolutely not.
Two absolutely stupid, and if you look at it in a vacuum, stupid gimmicks that got over because of who played them. Not just give random. I mean, if they would have give, let's think, Irvin R. Shyster the Undertaker gimmick, would it have got over? No. He would have been flushed down the toilet in about 2 minutes.
Yep.
And this match was two people that knew how to work, they paid attention to the rules. I did one time. There was one time the ref got a little tad bit buried and probably had a little bit of backstage heat on this one. It's when Taker was on the outside and Foley went to get him the elbow off the apron. Taker picks up the chair and blocks him with it. And the ref in the background is sitting there watching it. You can see the look on his face. Oh, crap. But he turned around like he didn't see it. Yeah. Whoopsie. And
yeah, I'll say, honestly, the ref, probably my only gripe. It's just like, of course, Taker had Paul Bearer with him.
Love Paul Bearer. He was great. Those facials, man. Those weird.
Wonderful. He's a wonderful manager. But the ref, I feel like, paid a hair too much attention to Bear on the outside. Mm-hmm. It almost seemed like the two were just chatting while these two grown men are beating the crap out of each other with chairs, like right behind them. And it's like, dude, like, I mean, if you guys want to have a beer after the match is over, that's fine. But I mean, you have a job to do here, man. Like, Mankind's rolling in the ring with chairs. Taker snatches it, cracks him over the head with it a couple times, hits him in the back.
Yep.
Like, you got to hear this. I mean, this is hitting Mick Foley of all people, so it's probably stiff.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I could probably hear my neighbor hit someone with a chair from here. So it's like you're 3 feet away from these guys.
That's that age-old trope in wrestling. Refs are absolutely stupid and made of glass.
Deaf, man.
Made of glass. Yeah. Knock them down, they're down for 10 minutes.
It's like, there's no other creature on this earth that can lift a 300-pound man choking another man in a corner. But if you tap them light enough, they collapse.
Yep. Mankind took that back body drop on the exposed concrete floor. Whew, man, that man is nuts.
Like, I'm convinced that Mick Foley is made of like adamantium, dude. Like, this dude has taken so many just
crazy,
bumps,
stupid bumps.
crazy, stupid bumps, and does it for the love of the sport.
Yep.
And it's just, it blew me away to see him not. I mean, basically, Taker kicked him in the face the first time with the chair, then proceeds to hit him in the back with it. And a little later in the match, with the same chair, gives him a stiff headshot. Like,
yeah.
And Foley took it like a champ.
I forgot how cringy those were when those actually were.
Oh my God, dude. Those were, ooh. Like, I will say that is one thing I'm glad they got rid of the headshots with the chairs, because that could do some serious damage, especially if it's stiff.
Yeah, those get bad. But this was a great match. Two guys know how to work, know their gimmick. It wasn't longer than it needed to be. It got to where it needed to be to set up. Paul Bearer went to smack Mankind with the urn. Mankind moves. He clocks Undertaker. Mankind sticks on the mandible claw, which is one of the stupidest moves in history. But Mick Foley got it over. Why? Because commitment, and he was that good.
And this match.
Yeah.
This match got the mandible claw over.
Yep.
And I got a few little fun facts that just little things that, it seems nitpicky, but it's not like negative feedback or anything at all. How cool was it to see Undertaker, donning the purple boots and the purple gloves? Like, just super nostalgic for me.
Yes. Yes.
I just wanted to see that. Also Mankind with his obviously the mask, but the brown attire. Like, it was really cool seeing that. The fact that when they were on the outside of the ring and a fan snapped a picture of Mankind and he turns and yells at the fan.
Yes.
Like, that's that heel heat right there.
Yep.
Like, I loved Mankind as a heel. Like, it was always fun. And especially back then, because by this point, unless you were a hardcore wrestling fan or just had some random access to Japanese wrestling at the time, you didn't know who Cactus Jack was. You know what I mean? And for Mankind, this was Mankind's debut in ring in WWE. And he went up against someone who had already made a name for themselves by this point. Taker was, as a gimmick, was 5 years in. And we're talking about a guy, by this point, the streak's already started. We didn't know it was a streak yet. It was just Taker was just winning at WrestleMania, whatever. He was definitely one of those guys that's like, you're going to be a draw. Like, and I'd say he was probably already a bit of a draw for them. And Mankind won that match. The rules were kind of loose. We were told that by Jim Ross and Vince McMahon both during the match. So I guess the chair shots were there, but in a way,
it comes to the point of the ref got buried a little bit.
Oh yeah. Which, absolutely. Even with that being said, I guess that was a stipulation brought on thanks to the refs' ineptitude, but Mankind technically went over clean in this match. With some shenanigans from Paul Bearer.
A little bit of clean, a little bit of accidental by your manager, or
comical, or typical Paul Bearer.
The angle, was it accidental? More on that later down the future.
Makes you wonder,
they sowed that seed of doubt. But this was a great match. I loved it. I think I say loved it. I think I gave it, let me see, flip back here. I gave it a B+. B+ for me.
B+. I gave it a B+ as well.
Hey, look at that.
Oh, yeah.
Folks, we didn't talk about these beforehand. This was all just separate. So if we give the same thing to, they're talking about it, blah, blah, blah.
It's a work.
Yeah. Nope, this is all shoot, folks. This is a shoot. Shoot, baby, shoot. Oh, don't want to get copyrighted. Not that I can sing that well anyway. But yeah, that was a good match. Two great Hall of Famers with two of the greatest of their generation. I did. Oh, the one thing I did right. I wanted to say I saw Taker go old school, but I guess
Yes,
it would still be new school here, wouldn't it?
that's a good question. It got a nice pop from the crowd.
Did, because it's not been overdone over the years.
Right. And plus Foley definitely sold it well too.
Oh yeah, he did. And that Taker with that flying clothesline, being 6'11", the man was so agile. It was
Oh
crazy.
yeah. For sure.
All right. Next we have Mr. Perfect with Shawn Michaels interview with Michael Hayes. Michaels interrupts and says, "You better do the right thing. You better call it right down the middle, Mr. Perfect." And he goes, "Okay, I will." And that was pretty much that whole segment.
That was funny to me because in a way, considering everything that happens, it was kind of like a red herring to me. Because I mean, obviously, you see Perfect in the locker room with Camp Cornette, and it's like, whoa, what are you doing in here? Yeah, I'm just getting dressed, man. It's no big deal. Hayes brought it up in that little interview there. It's like, we saw you in there with Jim Cornette and everybody. And he was like, look, man, this is a locker room. Like, what do you expect? And then here comes Michaels, and you better do the right thing and all this. And it's like, kind of like setting you up to think that Perfect's going to get out here and, try to win this for the Bulldog essentially. And yeah, I was like, I felt like it was clever the way they did that.
Yeah.
It gave you some doubt that Perfect would do the right thing. Because I mean, if I do recall at the time that Perfect was a heel, so it would make sense for him to get out there and do heel things, and that was a perfect setup for that. And I made the terrible dad joke pun and called it a red Henning.
Oh, except his name's not Henning. Hennig.
I know.
You're close. You're close. A red Hennig. I'll give that one. His name always confuses me though. I always want to call him Henning, but it's Hennig. I don't know.
I was like, yeah, that was always tough for me to say.
Yeah, I thought it was Henning for the longest time till I got to seeing it written down. I'm like, oh, I always thought they were saying Henning because I never really paid. I always just called him Mr. Perfect. Never really paid attention to anything else. But yeah, this was good. I loved this. I love the idea. The execution here in a little bit, we'll talk about. Probably wasn't the greatest. But yeah, it did what it did. It sowed the seed of doubt of what's going to happen in your main event. Got you interested, made you stay. And I mean, you put Mike in front of Hennig and Michaels, we're good.
Oh yeah.
All right, so next we move to the Intercontinental title match between Goldust versus Ahmed Johnson. And folks, if you want to know what this feud is about, it's about sexual assault, and that's about it.
Yeah, that's putting it mildly. Especially considering the time.
Earlier, when you said this, we started seeing the seeds being sown for the Attitude Era. Goldust personifies that in one giant, bright, shiny individual.
Very much so.
So this whole feud was set up because Ahmed Johnson got took out. I don't if they showed why. I never saw it. It really doesn't matter. He's on a stretcher with EMTs getting ready to put him in the ambulance because he's injured. Goldust, Dustin Runnels, comes out as Goldust, who is this, I don't even know what to call I don't want to.
The bizarre one.
The bizarre one who is not homosexual, not straight. He's
eccentric.
Yeah, let's put it that. For the early 90s, they were really, or mid 90s, they were pushing the boundaries of what they could get away with.
Oh yeah.
But he sees Ahmed Johnson. He's like, oh, I need to help him. And he proceeds to give the man mouth to mouth when he doesn't need it. And Ahmed Johnson takes offense to this because homophobia in the 90s is, still cool. We're good with that. You can be afraid of gay people. Spoiler alert, they won't hurt you. But we didn't know that. We didn't know that back then. We were stupid. at least
Preach.
wrestling wise. Um, yeah, but so that leads to an intercontinental title match. But and I'll tell you what, Ahmed Johnson looked like $1,000,000.
Oh yeah.
Give that. I mean, if that man had any in-ring talent, you could have stuck a manager with him because you couldn't understand a word he was saying through that. I think he was from what, Alabama? Yeah, he's from
I
or
believe
Mississippi,
Mississippi, Pearl
Pearl
River,
River,
Mississippi.
Mississippi. You could not. I used to live in Mississippi, and let me tell you what: when people down there got excited, you can't understand a word they say.
Oh, you can
And
tell, yeah,
he is
for
the
sure.
he is that. Well, me and my wife used to travel for her job, and we moved to. We're from West Virginia. We sound like you can hear me talk. We sound hillbilly, redneck, Appalachian, whatever you want to call them. We moved to South Carolina, right outside of Columbia. First night there, we didn't have a chance to go. We just drove down, haven't even had a chance to go to the grocery store. We go to the Bojangles to order our food. Pull up to the drive-through, and the lady comes over the microphone, and I had no idea what she even said. It was Charlie Brown's teacher. Wah 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 wah. No idea. I just started ordering, and then she went wah 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 wah, and I'm assuming that meant how much it was and pull around. But I never understood one word that woman said on that thing, and that's Ahmed Johnson's promo to me. Wah 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 wah. Huh? What? Yeah. But he, like I said, he's big, he's muscled, has a good those pants for some reason they look like the precursor to what teenagers wear now, where they're all cut out.
Mm-hmm.
But he made it work. It's a good gimmick.
Oh
The
yeah.
Pearl River Plunge is one of the greatest finishing maneuvers I will put up there of all time.
Yes, I agree. It's one of my
Okay,
favorites.
let me back off that statement. Most underrated looking finishing maneuvers of all time. Let me put it that way.
That's fair. That's fair.
And those of you who don't know what it is, it's basically just a double underhook power bomb, sit out power bomb, and it was great. And the Pearl River Plunge, good name for it, because he's always billed as being from Pearl River, Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
But this match, oh my
I want to
goodness!
say, before we talk about the match, let's talk about that entrance, because
I forgot about that. Yeah,
to this day, they're like, I've seen video of it, obviously, watch King of the Ring, so you see it there. And I mean, even countless GIFs or GIFs if you prefer.
that's peanut butter.
And and it's just funny because when you first watch it, you almost think that these guys who are, the little door squire dudes probably don't expect it. But at the same time, it's like, looking back, you can kind of see it's like, yeah, this was supposed to happen. But regardless, it's still funny because I think he might have beat his music to the door
It was
because he just comes blasting out,
yeah, that was
running to the
good.
ring.
And those two
And
just fly.
it was hilarious. And I loved it. And I will always love it.
Yeah, that was a
And
good call too, because it showed I ain't waiting for music. I ain't waiting for the doors. I am going to get that guy.
it was like, I want to murder this man. And
And you
that
believed it.
showed. Absolutely. Because like Ahmed is pissed. And you could tell even after that happened on Raw that he was pissed. He destroyed that entire backstage area.
Yep.
And like beat up anybody who got in his way. And it was
Absolutely.
probably the single greatest piece of 5 minutes of television like ever. And I'm like, I wish I could do that sometimes. Just get real mad, break things, and just like beat up random people on the street
When I was in
over
high
something
school,
minuscule.
yeah, it works too, because when I was in high school and I'd have like stress, a lot of stress, I'd go to my grandparents' house, and they lived in the middle of nowhere. And for some reason, the people that used to own the house had a car over the hill, just like down in the woods that they just left there. And I would
Hmm.
just take a sledgehammer and just go beat the ever loving crap out of this car. Hey, I felt better
It feels
because it was,
great.
yeah, it feels great sometimes. I've seen there's places now that like, I don't know if there's one around here where they're called stress rooms. And it's basically they give you a set of goggles so you don't get something in your eye. They give you a baseball bat and a room full of crap that you can just go, like junk that you can just smash and break for like 20 minutes. That
Yes,
sounds so much fun.
that does. That sounds like a blast.
But instead of a break room, Ahmed Johnson decided to use, I would say, Gold Dust's face, but did you catch the first part where he runs in? Ding, 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 match starts. Ahmed Johnson runs in, tackles Gold Dust, and proceeds to straight up just punch the mat 3 times before somebody in the back screaming, "Cut away, cut away, cut away." Because Gold Dust is selling it, but you can flat out see he is pounding the mat, not anywhere near his face. Did you
Oh
catch
yeah,
that?
that was
That was
yikes.
bad. Yeah.
I did, and I was just kind of like, huh? It was kind of, 404 error not found. Like and that to me, how much I liked the entrance, that kind of killed the momentum.
Yeah.
Because it's
Oh,
like he slides in and he had all the momentum. Tackle him, beat the crap out of him, do what you got to do, handle your business. But he
whiffed.
kind of fumbled it. Yeah. And it's like,
Oh, he
and
ain't
to
done yet.
me, yeah. And it's like that kind of knocked the wind out of everyone's sails, I feel like at that point. It's kind of like, ooh.
Especially if you're watching on TV. I think you could get away with that a little bit in the arena, but when the
Mhm.
camera, I mean, it was a tight shot, and it's just he's 6 inches from his face, physically making contact with the ring. And
Mhm.
then he picks him up, takes him over, and tosses him out of the ring. Ahmed tosses Gold Dust over the ropes. Then this big 6 foot, was he 6'5", 320 something,
It was like
huge
huge.
jacked up idiot, decides he's going to run and he's going to do the dive through the ropes. And he he just straight up just spikes, javelins himself right on the mat. And I'm thinking, you've done 3 moves and botched 2 of them. Let's go home. At this point,
It
I
was
am
like, yeah,
done.
just wrap it up, man.
Ahmed
Like
Johnson
he,
looked like $1 million, but his in-ring work was 10 cents.
yeah, it was, yeah, that dive was, and then again, they had here's the Coliseum video replay. What?
Yeah, why are
So
we
you're gonna show
replaying
me the
this?
same thing in slow motion? He hit him with his foot.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? It's like, that would have been great had he nailed it. But it's like, nah, he completely whiffed, and he might have hit him with like his side or something. And it's like, all due respect, Mr. Johnson, you're kind of big for that. Like,
yeah, that's
especially,
not.
I mean, you think about how tight that the ringside was at the time. Like, yeah, buddy.
I, I
Like,
get that you're
nah.
mad. I get that you want to convey that you're angry, but that's not your move. You come flying out of that ring, slide through the bottom, and just beat the snot out of him.
Right. Because that's more believable.
And I mean, why would you jump at that size? Why would you jump over the ropes? I don't know if he called that on the spot. Was it planned before? But that just, I don't get
If
it.
that was planned before, who co-signed on that? Like,
The
who was
agent of the
like, that's
match,
a
maybe? I don't
that's a
know.
brilliant idea. Let's send this like 6'8" dude through the ropes. That's a great idea.
I will. I will come back. I will retrograde if he never ever does it again. And this is like the one time where he got mad enough to think about that. I might be okay with that. But if he ever does that again, I'll bury it.
Yep. Fair enough.
But I kept thinking of this whole match. We got Dusty Rhodes' son. Great, he's always still to this day, this guy still wrestles.
Mm-hmm.
Great worker. How great would he have been with a different gimmick? I know he put his heart and soul in this and told Vince McMahon he was willing to get breast implants.
Mm-hmm.
But how great could Dustin have been with an actual grandson of a plumber gimmick?
Oh yeah.
I don't know. Just but for some reason, I don't know why, Ahmed Johnson goes over in this match and is a new Intercontinental Champion.
Yep. And the way he got there was entertaining, with, the sleeper hold, his arms up, 1, pick it up again, 2. And for some bright reason, Goldust is like, oh my God, I need to help this man. And proceeds to give him CPR, mouth to mouth, again. And got a huge pop from the crowd, huge reaction. Ahmed Johnson proceeds to grab this man's throat. Beats the ever-loving dog snot out of him. Spine buster, Pearl River plunge, 1, 2, 3. And that right there, I was like, okay, that salvaged the match for me.
Yeah,
and
I do like the finish, the way it did. Because
the finish was great.
If you're going to end that feud if you're going to end that match for that reason, that was the right call. That was a good call.
Oh, absolutely. And I think plus at this time too, like they were trying their hardest to push Ahmed Johnson to the moon.
Yep.
And it just, it didn't pan out. You look at guys who, especially with the IC title, like that's a prestigious title. It doesn't seem like it today, but
back then,
you look back then,
this was your number 2 guy.
Yeah,
this was usually your number 2 babyface.
That was your starting point, basically. That was your point. Just like, all right, you're the IC champion right now. 6 months from now, you'll be hoisting up the company gold. You're going to be the guy. And it's just outrageous. Like the men who held that title, who have gone on to have, I can't even find a word good enough to describe the careers. Spectacular, we'll say. Spectacular.
And now it's a pre-show match.
Yeah, it's like, oh, we got the Intercontinental title. It's a dark match, but you guys can't see it. But, this guy won. And it's like.
But here are zombies.
Right. And it's like, dude, this is the history of this belt. You got the WWE title is a big belt. And then Raw has the Universal title, whatever it was. And it's like, okay, whoop-de-freaking do. And it did, and it's like, you have the Intercontinental title. Look at the men who have held that title. Most of, if not all of them, either are or go on to be Hall of Famers.
Mm-hmm. They didn't give it just to anybody.
Yeah, not every, you weren't going to give Gilbert the IC title. You know what I'm saying? You might give him hardcore, that's a gimmick of a gimmick of a gimmick. So it's whatever. You're giving guys like Shawn Michaels is an Intercontinental champion.
Yep.
Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, Razor Ramon,
Triple H.
Like these guys are IC champions, and most of them are multiple time IC champions. And that belt is basically like, look, you've handled this storyline, you got this title. Give yourself some time, beat some of these top guys. We'll see you at WrestleMania, pal. Or whatever, dude.
And obviously, since we're talking about Goldust and Ahmed Johnson feuding over it, sometimes there was a couple whiffs where you would, okay, maybe this guy we thought he was, maybe he's not, like at Scott Hall or Ahmed Johnson. Goldust was never going to be the guy because of the gimmick. Could Dustin Runnels, or if you want to call him Dustin, Rhodes, yeah, if you want to call him Dustin Rhodes, whatever. I could not think of, I just went blank there for a minute. If you want to call him whatever, could he have himself been the guy? Probably. Because I think he got Dusty's booking ability a little more than Cody ever did.
Oh
And I
yeah.
think he was a better worker than Cody. He just never had the physique.
Nope.
And
And honestly, shoot, he
he'll
had his
always be
father's charisma heads down.
oh yeah, and he'll always get stuck with this gold dust crap because of this.
Mhm.
He'll always be thought of it. He could after this, he never could have been the guy. He 6 months after this, he could have disappeared off TV, come back as Dustin Rhodes, and if you would have made him champion, everybody would have been going, 6 months ago, this guy was kissing Ahmed Johnson.
Right.
But he was great. This is Lawler and Warrior, just not to the degree where one was good, one wasn't so good, but the other one kind of made it okay. And the finish saved this match. I agree with you.
Oh, big time.
I graded it harshly because I didn't like the botches. I mean, Ahmed Johnson punching the mat took me out of it, spiking himself on a dive, and I didn't like it. I gave this a D.
A D.
I gave it a D.
I'll be honest with you. I gave it a C minus. I gave it a C minus. Like, I mean, honestly, I'll be truthful with you. The running through the doors gave me it got bonus points for that because the start of the match, it's like, ooh, this story is going to be good. We get to see this resolved. Ahmed Johnson gets his retribution, and yeah, like you said, kind of fell flat on that. But Goldust had a couple like the pile driver. One of the pile drivers in the match was obvious, like it didn't hit.
Yeah.
Didn't look believable, but that wasn't really enough to make me lower the grade. But the fact that even with the miss on the person for the belt, they did respect the title and give them 15 minutes.
Yeah, it wasn't. They gave him time.
Yeah, it wasn't like a mid-card match. It was, but it wasn't. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean,
it.
I mean, if you
That
look at
could have
what
been a
comes
main
after,
event on Raw.
I mean, we're setting up the two main event matches because we had I would consider this a double main event match.
Oh yeah,
the title match and then the King of the Ring final.
Yep.
So this one set that up.
Your appetizer. This was your chili cheese dog or chili cheese fries. I mean,
this wasn't the go to the bathroom match. That was Lawler and Warrior.
Yeah, that was Lawler Warrior.
I hate to say it. That was Lawler and Warrior go to the bathroom.
Or even Guns and Godwins. Honestly, that was a little longer.
Yeah, I don't know why they put that. I mean, putting that second was death slot. I probably would have let off that match, but I agree. I mean, who knows? Or I don't know, but it was. I didn't like it, but I mean, I was out of that match. It was way up when he came out. I'm like, oh, here we go, and then punch the mat. That just killed every bit of this match for me. Like right there, I already made up my mind. Like, this is an F because that's just blatantly that's wrestling 101, punching.
Oh yeah.
Why? I mean, why would you hit the mat at all? It's not like Dustin was bobbing, weaving like Ali up there. He was laying there, not covering up, sitting there taking it, and you're punching the match or punching the mat. I don't know. Unexcusable to me. I mean, but it is what it is. But
that's fair. That's fair.
But from the peak to the valley and back up again. Brian Pillman comes out on crutches. Oh my gosh, this guy and this gimmick. If I hated to see him in crutches because I knew that meant the wreck just happened. But if this guy would not have gotten hurt, I don't think Austin would have been what Austin was, because I think that slot would have went right here to Brian Pillman. I think Pillman was a better talker. I think Pillman was just as good in the ring. And this gimmick, man, this was, I mean, if you look at it, this is almost pieces of it are the Stone Cold Steve Austin gimmick we're going to see later.
Yep. Oh my God, could you imagine the chemistry between him and Pillman?
Those would have
had Pillman's career lasted longer. Like, oh my God. I mean, even that little thing they had there, you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And it like you talk about even going back and watching it, like riveting television. Like that was unseen, dude. And even in this promo / interview with JR at ringside,
I don't know what to
like,
call this thing.
right, it was like a hybrid, but that's what Pillman's known for. I mean, this man, I mean, this guy, I mean, he was just that good.
This
And
is
it's like,
probably in history one of the best worked gimmicks I've ever heard of in my life. This guy, it's for those of you who don't know, Brian Pillman was the wild, like crazy, what they call it, unhinged, like didn't know what he was going to do.
for
This
sure.
man played this gimmick so well that when he was in WCW, he convinced a lot of people that he really was crazy, and they let him go. Still to this day, people think that there's a story with him and Bischoff, which we can get into at another point, but Bischoff's trying to retcon that these days. But here's a clue: you don't let a guy like Brian Pillman go to sabotage the other company. Doesn't happen. But this interview was just him big nuts. They let him curse a little bit because he's crazy. I mean,
Vince apologized. Yeah, I apologize for that.
We're so sorry about that. I'm like, first off, it's pay-per-view. You're not on network right now, so shut up. Which, spoiler alert, he'll do the same thing on Raw, network or not. That's his gimmick. You don't know what he's going to do. This really, again, like I said earlier, started sowing the seeds of the Attitude Era. Was this real? Was this a shoot? That was his whole gimmick? Was it kayfabe or was it shoot?
And that's been his gimmick for a long time.
And those eyes, man, that's what I wrote. I wrote those eyes, ... That was my whole thing on this. I wrote Pillman with JR. Spoiler alert, gave it an A. And I wrote those eyes, ... I mean, you go back and watch this and just look at his eyes, man.
He would convince you he was crazy, like, for sure. Like, it's like, yeah, that was his whole gimmick in WWE. Loose cannon.
And now 25 years later.
Sheesh.
Yeah. And now loose cannon, that's what they kept calling him. Couldn't remember what the exact term they kept using. And now 25 years later, you go back and look, and Brian Pillman, I mean, just they said it off camera, like the gentle, sweet guy who liked some things outside of the ring that he probably shouldn't have.
Well,
women, but that Dark Side of the Ring episode was great. By the way, if you guys haven't seen Dark Side of the Ring, go watch those things. Those are great.
Definitely.
But and it was just a short interview. It was a 30-second, 45-second interview with JR that got Pillman over. Like I said, I gave this a straight up A easily.
Oh yeah, and then and right into that's actually perfect segue considering the timing of it.
Yep.
As soon as JR and Pillman finished their interview, it's like, yeah, as soon as they finished their interview, here comes Austin. Austin's music hits, and you see it. It's quick.
I was going to bring this up.
See it. They glance at each other, which we know they have history, the Hollywood Blondes, but obviously they're not going to bring that back. So it's like you see that and it's like, oh my God, like we're going to see Pillman versus Austin. We've been waiting for this, like since they were a tag team and all this. Austin come jaunting out to the ring. You know, I'm the ringmaster. We didn't know at this time he had gone to the hospital and gotten stitches.
Yep. I wrote in my notes, Pillman and Austin Easter egg. Love it.
It was beautiful.
It was great. Yeah, like you said, Austin got
started.
Like you said, Austin got stitches, which we didn't realize that's why he was busted open in that first match. Hardwayed 16 stitches in his mouth. And the fact that he's about ready to make a promo with 16 stitches in his mouth. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Wonderful stuff.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, that's we'll get to that. And and you know, of course, we were backstage, we talked to Gorilla Monsoon, and he's gonna let Jake the Snake, all that jazz happens. Here comes Jake the Snake, obviously favoring his ribs like a good broken rib dude should, and
They're all taped up.
all taped up. Austin says, "Screw this. I'm not waiting. I'm going to kick your behind outside this ring real quick," and proceeds to do just that. And the way it was set up, I mean, Austin knew that, his ribs were hurt. And it's like, yeah, I'm going to do what Austin does, and I'm going to hurt you even more.
Mm-hmm.
And the match was a little longer if you count that, but I know they don't count that. They count when the bell rings.
Yeah.
So it was like, of course, the match wasn't very long.
It didn't
to no
need to
fault
be.
of either person. Yeah. And it
it
really
shouldn't
didn't
have been. Nope. It was exactly what it should have been. It was a straight squash. Jake got in what? 2 kicks and a punch?
2 kicks and a punch.
And the punch hurt him.
Think that, yeah. Yeah. And I think that they timed it perfect with bringing WWF president Jack, too late, Gorilla Monsoon out, and having him like come up to the ring. Looks like he's about to tell Jake, "Look, man, you're done." He said he would if he needed to, but he didn't need to. Austin was like, "Don't worry, President, I got this."
Yep.
And I mean, yeah, like you said, that one ended the way it was supposed to. And I mean, yeah, like this at this point is where age does come in for Roberts, because it's like, this man's 41, and how big of a push are you expecting to give a 41-year-old man who was definitely on his way out at that point?
Yeah, definitely. And I think they were making that pretty plain.
Oh, yeah.
I wish I would have kept a track of every time they mentioned how old Jake is, and Owen buried him. He's 81 years old.
Right. And it's not like it was some like ceremonial passing of the torch. And that's no disrespect to Jake the Snake at all. I enjoy Jake the Snake in his prime. He was a hell of a performer in his time.
He was, but he was never the guy. He was
never the guy.
And he wasn't going to be.
No. And honestly, that I think is what made me respect him more as a wrestler. And I've always liked guys like that. Like these guys who, they might get a taste of being one of the upper guys in the company for a while, but ultimately they're going to end up in the mid card, but you're okay with that because you know who they are. That's why honestly, like at the convention last week, Kevin Nash was there. I was like, cool. I saw him. I didn't take a picture with him or anything. Scott Steiner was there. I was kind of like, okay, Scott Steiner's here. Cool. Sergeant Slaughter was there. Oh God, I wish I'd have talked to him. I wish I'd have talked to him, because I'd asked him. I was like, dude, like, we need to talk about your math. Like, I'm not great at math. You inspire me.
Greatest promo ever, because it is just such a train wreck.
Oh yeah, I love it, dude. Who else was there? Sergeant Slaughter was there, and that was cool. It was cool seeing him. He had his drill sergeant hat on. Everything was awesome. But I didn't know that Al Snow was going to be there. And when I tell you, like, I had a fanboy moment, and my son went up and talked to him, and I'm like, oh my God, my son's talking to Al Snow. Like, I'm marking out big time at this. And I chatted with him for a little bit, real down to earth dude. And I kind of casually, awkwardly asked for a picture, how much it would cost. $20. Yeah, I'll pay $20 to get my picture with Al Snow in head. Are you insane? Anyway, sorry. I say that to say this. That was basically Jake the Snake for me in the new generation era.
Yeah.
Of WWE.
Every roster needs solid mid-card guys to make the top of the card look better.
Yes.
Not everybody's going to be a Rock. Not everybody's going to be an Austin. But there's nothing wrong with being, let's say, a Road Dogg, a Billy Gunn, good tag team.
Mm-hmm.
The person that's, to me, just personifies great mid-card, D'Lo Brown.
D'Lo Brown, yes.
That guy was nothing special. The gimmick was there. He could talk a little bit. He could work his rear end off. Mm-hmm. His matches were always going to be good. And you need that.
Oh, yeah.
You could put him in against anybody, and you could put him in against a young guy, let's say, like you could put him right now. Well, he's not there yet, but you could have put him in against like an Austin in this match, or tomorrow night on Raw, put him against D'Lo. let Austin beat him, and he'd still be fine with that.
Oh
You
yeah.
need those guys.
Oh
Not
yeah. And I
everybody
mean,
should win every match.
plus I know there for a while he was the European champion, and that gimmick was great.
The chest protector. We'll get there. We'll get there, folks. We're getting ahead. We're getting ahead. But this match.
Sales apologize.
Yeah, we go off on it. We went off a little there, but yeah, Jake's a middle card guy, never was a top guy, but this is him kind of aging out of the company because Vince had already got rid of Hogan. Nash and Hall, they're not old at this point, but they just went to take more money. But Hogan's gone, Savage is gone, like we said. This was Jake leaving. And this was all to put Austin over and to make him setting him up. And this was long-term booking at its finest because this was to put Austin in his spot to be the next guy, the guy.
Mm.
And I don't think they realized just how much of the guy he was going to be. I think they wanted him to. I think they had aspirations of maybe getting him to the top of the card, maybe vying for the title, but I don't think he was ever supposed to be the guy and start to say like Shawn Michaels who, Bret Hart who, Taker who. Right. I mean, never Taker who, but you get to the point where he's going to be the face of the company, the biggest draw, probably the biggest superstar in wrestling history. Nobody saw that except for one man. And that was Jim Ross, because he said, and I quote, "This is only the beginning of what Stone Cold can do." And I'm like, man, you could not have called that more perfect. I mean, I know it's just a throwaway line from commentary, but man, that was perfect.
Oh yeah. It's kind of like, it was like generic, we're pushing this guy, quote, number 46, basically.
Yeah, but it was prophetic.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
But
yeah.
I didn't exactly classify this as a match. This was just straight up, Austin's going to win. Jake's hurt. He's going to show his heel side, beat him down. 1, 2, 3, stunner, bam. Or stunner, 1, 2, 3, bam. I gave it a B because, I mean, it was good, but it wasn't really a match enough to, it just did what it was really supposed to do. And I separated this in the promo, so.
I was like, yeah, I did too. And I gave this one a C. Like, you know, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that they did spend, the entire show just dumping all over Jake. And the fact that regardless, like, they should have gave him a little bit more, in my opinion. Now, and I get it with the ribs and everything like that, but I mean, Jake Roberts is a big man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he was not small by any definition of the word. And it's like, yeah, he's your babyface, whatnot. And it's like, yeah, you want to be your babyface. Give him a little bit of heart. You know, it's like, yeah, he's got some heart. Even like, you know, he's an older guy. You know, he's 41 years old, duking it out with this young Austin.
That goes back to why they should have put him over Vader and then injured the ribs in the post match. You get more sympathy on him. That puts more heat on Austin. I mean,
yep.
That's just my take.
Oh yeah,
that's my booking. But
I completely get it.
But yeah, I mean, see, I get it. I mean, yeah, it was a little long to me, a little slow paced, even with Jake not doing anything. Monsoon coming out and wanting to stop the match. Jake adamantly pulls the babyface, "No, I can go," and then proceeds to get his tail kicked for 5 more minutes.
Exactly.
But then after that comes the era starting moment to me. I know a lot of people think there's always, you know, the debate of when did the Attitude Era start. And like I said, we're seeing seeds of it starting here. But to me, if you want to put the definitive moment where it starts, it's right here at this next promo. Some people say it started at the Montreal screw job in 97. I think it's before that. Some people will tell you it's before this at random point number 7. But to me, this is the most important promo probably in wrestling history. And I mean, you got a lot. That's covering a lot of ground in a lot of years. A couple weeks we're going to have a pretty important one from Hogan. Not going to spoil that one. But we've got Dusty's American Dream promo. This one, but this one to me started the biggest boom in wrestling history. And if you guys don't know, this is you stand there and you thump your Bible and you say your prayers, and it didn't get you anywhere. You got your what do they say, Psalms and your Proverbs and John 3:16. Well, Austin 3:16 says, I just whooped your ass. That promo right there got Austin over just gangbusters over. The crowd was,
Oh yeah.
he's a heel, and they're like, whoa. I mean, I'm not saying they're cheering him, but they were behind him on this.
Oh yeah. And to me, that the promo is where I would consider, because you look at matches like this is like this next gen versus the previous, and it's like the match itself was a squash, and the promo in a way, because you think about it, that was Hogan's thing, you eat your vitamins, say your prayers and all that. And I don't really feel like there was like a defining principle, so to speak, in a way, in the new generation. And with the kind of preachy gimmick that Jake had at the time, it seemed like it was kind of piggybacking off of that. And for me, it's like, yeah, Stone Cold coming in, saying what he said in that promo was like, look, he pretty much, in my opinion, with that promo, set the mission statement for the Attitude Era for the next basically decade of wrestling in a way. Because I mean, even a lot, like, though they were watered down, some of that carried over into the Ruthless Aggression era as well. And it, like you said, it was the second great boom of professional wrestling. And we got so many classic moments, so many, like, we can look back at almost any point in the late 90s. And at some point you go back to wrestling, you could be talking about something completely different, and it comes back somehow to, oh, I saw a commercial with Stone Cold on it, and he was talking about this. And that started that, and it brought wrestling back into pop culture. And honestly, I think it multiplied it from what it was in the 80s even.
I mean, if you look at the 2028 president, Dwayne Johnson, he would not be in mainstream if it wasn't for this promo.
You heard it here first, folks.
Yep. I'm calling it. Even though I don't want to see any more actors in the White House. We've had too many. But
agreed.
We'll keep politics out of this. Trump sucks. But yeah, this crossed over. This was where the crossover in the mainstream happened. Nothing like Dwayne Johnson being in Hollywood, Stone Cold's hosting career of reality shows, which a girl from my high school actually won Redneck Island one year.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, actually, I went to school with her since kindergarten. Yeah, she won Redneck Island. Wasn't that what it was called, Redneck Island or something?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, one of his reality shows she won. Shout out to Lindsay. I'm sure she's not listening to this, but still. Yeah, it all comes back to this. This was the promo that just shot. I mean, they might as well, if they stuck a rocket up his rear end and lit it and got him to the moon, that would not have been high enough from where this promo got him.
Oh no, yeah, they had no choice but to push into Andromeda after that. And wow, like, just, I mean, I guess, well, if we want to have like some sort of epilogue, I'll go into further detail about what I think, just like, what ifs and stuff. But this,
we can do that.
Promo was just nothing short of a monolith.
Yep.
In this case, like, by this point, we're talking WWF 1996, Hall and Nash are gone. Hart's not there. Little did we know at this time, but that was Warriors' last in-ring pay-per-view in the WWF, WWE. Just all of this. And in all of that, you have this bright star from Victoria, Texas. And at the beginning, little did we know how bright that star was.
And at this point, WCW is kicking WWF's rear end in ratings.
Oh yeah,
since
absolutely.
They started Nitro in '95, and I think it was by they might not be I don't think they passed them yet, but they are coming up on them right now.
And coming up on them quick.
Yeah, come up on them quick.
I believe by this point, by '96, if I recall, Nitro's already live.
Yeah, Nitro's live. Yes.
Raw was still taped.
Yeah, Raw is still taped, which was why it took Vince so long to figure that part out. I don't know, but we'll get ahead of ourselves. But yeah, this really this is what saved this. If it wasn't for this promo right here, we wouldn't be complaining about WWE right now. We'd be complaining about what Turner has done to WCW. This podcast right now would not happen without Stone Cold Steve Austin saying Austin 316.
Absolutely right.
Yep. I mean,
absolutely right.
We can go to what ifs, like you said, as our close. So I gave that an A+ easily. I mean, there's no doubt that's A+.
Oh, anything lower than that is just blasphemy at this point.
Oh yeah. There's no
absolutely.
Yeah. It is what it is. It's the greatest promo in history. And I'm not gonna say the greatest promo in history. The most influential, most important promo.
It's up there for sure. It's up there for sure. And at least in my lifetime, I can't think of another promo that shook up an industry, basically.
Yep.
In professional wrestling. I mean, and I'm sure they may have been before our time or things like that. And with as much wrestling as I've watched, I mean, you hear some good promos, like great promos, not just from WWE, but even like few guys in WCW who had the gift of gab, so to speak.
Yep.
And yeah, just beyond that even. And this one can compete with any of them.
Mm-hmm. And you could look at his face and know that's not scripted. That's not being told to say. That is, I am just making this up. Why? Because Stone Cold Steve Austin was Steve Austin. It wasn't some gimmick. It wasn't somebody telling him what to say like we have today. It was him just turned up all the way, like over exaggerate who you are. Be you and go out there. But
absolutely.
Yeah, it was
and
perfect.
That is the best part of that. And I believe Austin was even quoted as saying, like, nah, that was completely on the fly.
Oh, yeah. You could look at him and tell him he was just coming up with that. And that line, man.
I loved it.
That line is so perfect. Austin 316 says, I just whooped your ass. And Vince McMahon's sitting there listening to that. And if the commentary booth was on video, you would see his little pupils turn into dollar signs going merchandise.
At that point, yeah, as soon as Austin 316, I was like, he's sitting there, yeah, Money Machine go.
He probably looks over at JR off, knows his mic's not hot, and goes, that's good shit, pal.
Oh, yeah, you know it. He was like, I'm going to be rich.
Oh, yeah.
Because absolutely, if I'm Vince McMahon, I might have said it on a hot mic. Like,
oh
my God, the money.
And they did Austin 316 t-shirts, which to start with was just a simple black shirt, Austin 316, and on the back, I just whooped your ass. That's all it said. They didn't even have the big flaming skulls yet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and in a couple weeks, we'll be watching Raw, and you'll see them start to pop up in the crowd for a heel.
Oh, yeah.
For a heel. Heels, and people, if you've not watched older wrestling, let me tell you, heels didn't sell merchandise. Why would you want to buy the bad guy's shirt?
Right.
That's what this is. not so much when it started, but when it took off. But of course, this is also, spoiler alert, going to transition his babyface turn too, because the crowd don't want to boo him anymore. This is the guy that cut that promo. This guy's the king of the ring. We like him now. But we'll get there. We'll get there. I think this whole episode could be titled "We'll Get There." We'll get there.
We'll get there.
We'll get better, folks. This is our debut episode. More Kane, less Shockmaster. All right.
I wasn't going to say anything.
Speaking of flops, this main event, this is the British Bulldog versus Shawn Michaels with Mr. Perfect as the special guest referee. And immediately to start with, Gorilla Monsoon comes out with, I believe it was Earl Hebner, and goes,
the late great Earl Hebner.
He's not dead, is he?
Earl Hebner Sr.? Oh, yeah.
What? I just saw him on
I was like, he passed a few years ago.
What? When did I miss that? No, he's not.
Is he not?
No. They fired him.
Sure about that?
Yeah.
I could have sworn he passed away.
It's not on his Wikipedia. He still says he's alive. 72.
Oh, yeah, he is. Who died then?
Was his brother Dave? Or Dale? Was it Dale?
I
don't know. Story for a later day.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Well,
I'm gonna cut that. So
I was like, yeah, let's omit that.
I'm gonna cut that whole. I'm gonna cut that whole sec. Hold on a second, so I can see the spike and know where to cut. I'm gonna cut that whole section. We're gonna start this WWF title match over again.
Yes, please.
Dale Hebner isn't dead.
I could have swore he was. I apologize for that.
I just saw him on an interview talking about the Montreal screw job not too long ago. Oh, okay. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Probably Beyond the Ring, right?
No, it was Dark Side of the Ring.
Dark Side of the Ring. I was like, yes, I know he did one for Beyond the Ring too.
Yeah. All right. So
talking about the screw job.
All right. So let's come in. And next we have an absolute. I don't understand what this thing was the WWF title match with the British. Okay, I can't. I'm gonna start laughing every time I say Earl Hebner. I'm gonna start laughing. I'm like, I don't know why this guy did not be. Which from the greatest thing ever to absolute, I have no idea what they were doing. We come to the WWF title match, which is British Bulldog versus Shawn Michaels with Mr. Perfect as a special guest referee. And the package showed that this was set up because I can't remember who, I think Davey gave the move to Shawn in a title match at the last pay-per-view where he did the German suplex, and they did the Dusty finish where they knocked one ref out, so the other one comes scooting in. But the other ref gets back up, and they were both counting at the exact same time. One was counting Davey's shoulders down, and the other one was counting Shawn's shoulders down. And they both raised their arms, and nobody knows who the title really won, or who the title holder really was. So they let Shawn retain because, of course, they do.
I mean, why not?
Yeah, I mean, it's like he's going to give up that thing willingly.
No kidding.
Yeah. So that leads to this match where he wants somehow Mr. Perfect becomes involved and he's the referee. And like we've said, the red herring all night long is, ooh, he's in Camp Cornette's locker room. What's going to happen? Ooh. So once the match is right ready to start, here comes Gorilla Monsoon with Earl Hebner still alive and kicking and says, "You're the ref." Folks, if you don't understand that joke, we had to cut a little bit because Arnold over here thought Earl Hebner was dead. We love you, Earl. Greatest ref.
Sorry, Earl.
Greatest attitude era referee. But so yeah, Monsoon brings down Earl Hebner. and says, he's the ref in the ring. And Mr. Perfect, you're going to be the ref outside the ring. And then we proceed to have about a 20-minute match.
20.
Where about 20? Is that what it was? Yeah. Or was it not even that long? I don't
It was almost a half hour long.
Okay. So yeah, so we proceed to have a half-hour match where Mr. Perfect walks around the ringside and does absolutely nothing. He didn't factor into the decision. Earl didn't get knocked down and he runs in and counts the pin. He did nothing. I will say the one thing about the match itself. The match itself was great. We got two great workers. Shawn Michaels was one of the greatest in-ring technicians ever. Davey Boy Smith was really good. Michael Khan, one of the best ever. He was really good. This match was you couldn't see through it. Those arm drags they were throwing, man, those look good. But the move of the match, the move of the pay-per-view for me was Shawn Michaels skin the cat, head scissors, throw Davey out of the ring. Did you catch that? That was beautiful. I mean, totally not believable because I don't think Shawn Michaels' legs are strong enough to throw Davey Boy by his neck like that.
Absolutely not.
But the athleticism, and it looked really good. But
it looked amazing.
The match was great. It looked flawless. They went back and forth. Shawn kept trying for the super kick a couple times, and Davey would dip, dodge, duck, and dodge again. Dip, duck, dive. What am I missing? Dodge. I need to watch the movie again. Dodge and dodge. Yeah, that's right. 2 dodges. That's why I have the 5th one. But anywho, I need to watch Dodgeball again. Great movie. But
great movie.
This match is all about the WTF finish. What were they going for? Why would you have Mr. Perfect announced as the guest referee to stand at ringside? Might as well shove his thumb up his hind end and do nothing. He never attempted to, I don't know. And then the end of the match,
it was really weird to me.
I was expecting at some point Owen at ringside to try to interfere and maybe Perfect stopping, but that never really. That didn't happen either. If somebody can explain this to me, because I don't understand this at all. Was Perfect hurt or something and couldn't do anything other than walk around?
That's a good guess, because I mean, my thing is, if that's the case, why even have him out there at all? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, if you're going to do that, have Bulldog. I mean, I'm speculating that maybe he was hurt. Have Bulldog take him out in the locker room. Oh, well, look, we need a real ref. We need a real ref now, or somebody else.
Right.
But folks, we're not exaggerating when we tell you he just watched the match. You can watch this match. He walked around ringside. Every once in a while, he would, like, if there was a count, he would count with it. Like, yep, that was 2. Yep, good job. Yep, and that was. He got paid to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any idea of why he was there? I'll take that as a no.
I do not. Like, it was pointless. I mean, unless it was one of those things where maybe somebody was supposed to bump Earl Hebner and didn't, and it's like, oh, well, I got to get in here and do ref things now, and then you get the little shady underhanded mess. But it's like that never materialized, or somebody missed a spot or a bump or something. Like,
and with Michaels and Bulldog, I don't think that would happen.
Yeah.
At least if it did, they hit it well.
Right.
To me, I cannot overstate how little he did in this match.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, all pay-per-view long is, what's Mr. Perfect going to do? Is he going to call it right down the middle? Is he going to? And then you just cut it off. I don't get it.
Yeah, it's like he must have had the magic conch from SpongeBob. It's like, all right, so I need to go out here and beat up Earl Hebner and help Davey Boy win the championship. What do I need to do? Pulls the string. Nothing. And that's pretty much what he did. I mean, he's like, yeah, it's like he's like he basically had the best seat in the house for the main event. Stood outside at ringside.
I expected maybe him to clock Cornette when Cornette tried to get involved.
Yeah,
no idea.
it's like, yeah, even that would have been a good resolution.
Nope, nothing. So just super kick from Michaels. 1, 2, 3. That was it. That was the end of the match. And then
a faith that
there was Owen asking Perfect, why didn't he get in there and do something? That was the only thing that, like, maybe that whole thing was to attempted face turn for Perfect for not interfering. If that is it, that's like the worst face turn I've ever heard of.
That's the worst face turn ever.
Yeah. It's like, what? Like, maybe this was trying to set up him versus Owen. I don't. Whatever it was, it fell flat. I mean, it fell flatter than the pancake. But the match was good. The match was two great workers having a good wrestling match.
The match itself, in my opinion, arguably best match of the night. Like, arguably best match of the night. Like, and like you said, I mean, you have two great workers in the ring. They definitely know their way around the ring. And they put on a really good match. And I think that's why they gave them almost half an hour.
Yep.
You know, because like these guys, they know what they're doing. Let them tell a story. And they told an incredible story in that match.
Yes, they did.
And, you know, if you completely ignore the Mr. Perfect stuff, you know, you have Shawn Michaels, your champion, Davey Boy Smith trying to get that belt. And it's just, yeah, two grown men, mano a mano, doing what they get paid to do.
Yep. It was definitely the best, like, wrestling match of the night. But I gave it a C+ just because the Mr. Perfect thing it was a little distracting.
Mm-hmm. Now for me, like this one, I'll be honest, I gave a B.
Okay.
I gave it a B. And a lot of that has to do with the storytelling itself. Like, again, if you ignore the goofy special guest referee shenanigans, like, you know, Hebner counting, Perfect trying to count, and, you know, all that silliness, the two men put on an incredible performance.
Oh, absolutely. As a match, I would have given that an A easily by itself.
But yeah, I mean, and trust me, I totally respect where you're coming from with your rating as well. And I don't know, because honestly, I didn't watch the end of the pay-per-view. I was like, after the match was over, I was like, all right, that's enough.
There really wasn't. There really wasn't anything. They just kind of the generic watch the replay on Tuesday night, which they used to do.
Yeah. I cheated a little bit. I went on Google just to kind of, because I was looking for like exact times for the match, like how long they took and stuff. And I happened to see what happens after the match at King of the Ring. Apparently, Owen Hart attacks Shawn Michaels and like fails, because I mean, come on, Shawn Michaels. So Bulldog, he has Hart in a head scissors, and he has Bulldog like in a headlock. So it's like, yeah, I'm Shawn Michaels, you know, I'm macho, big man. They end up getting the best of him. They hit him with a double suplex. Here comes Ahmed Johnson.
Oh,
Ahmed Johnson
yeah.
comes out. Yeah,
I did see this.
Brouhaha. Yeah.
Yeah, that, I mean, yeah, I didn't write that down, but I do remember that now. That didn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
It didn't, and here's why. Because I was like I said, I read up on it some. All right, so I'm sure you saw the promo for the event in Vancouver the next month in your house.
Yes, the international incident.
Yeah, international incident. That was it. What was supposed to happen there was a 6-man tag. It was going to be, I believe it was Michaels, Ahmed Johnson, and Ultimate Warrior versus Camp Cornette. And of course, Warrior did not show up. to work after King of the Ring. So obviously didn't happen. I don't remember what the main event was for International Incident. I'd have to go back and watch it.
We'll get
But
there. We'll get there.
yeah, it was like Warrior wasn't involved in any way, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, outside of that, man, I mean, that, ladies and gentlemen, was King of the Ring 1996.
Groundbreaking, but yet
Groundbreaking. Underwhelming. Like, it still oozed of new generation post Ramon and Diesel.
Yeah, because they had just left not too long ago, about
a month before, right? Yeah. So yeah, they were long gone by this point. And that we're still, I think, not even a month, maybe 2 weeks out, if you think about in terms of Monday Night Raw, away from one of my favorite cringiest moments in WWF history. And if you think about
more of that to come.
More of that to come.
We'll leave the teaser there.
Yeah, leave that as a cliffhanger, because that is a good one.
I think I know what you're talking about. We'll say, oh yeah, oh dear. Okay, yeah, we'll get to that. I don't want to ruin that.
Yeah, let's leave that as a tease, because oh man, you talk about some comedy. That is it right there.
Yep. Mm-hmm. But yeah, right. I did our grade. I averaged our grades up, and we probably should talk about this at the beginning of the podcast. But if you've made it this long, what we do is we give each segment a grade, like a school grade, A, B, C, D, or F, and each show, each Raw, we're going to do Nitro, we're going to do pay-per-views of WWF and WCW, and they're going to get an average grade. And this one, I get averages overall to a C+, and for you, actually comes out to a C+ as well.
Yep, that's what I got my overall. I did the same thing. I was like, overall C+. And like I said, for the time period, like at this particular time, that's as good as an A. I mean, let's be honest.
Oh, if they aired this Sunday, it would be an A, easily.
Oh yeah, I'd watch the crap out of that. I'd be like, whoa, this is very different. Like, what?
There are stars that I care about on this pay-per-view. You don't get that wrestling today.
You're not getting that. Basically, if you think of everything else, like Raw anymore is like, it's just like water, like not even good water, like room temp tap water.
Yep.
And you get the pay-per-view where they add a little spritz. They give you ice. It's the same stuff, but you get ice. So it's a little cooler, a little more crisp. And then it's right back to, well, here's your regular tap water that's been sitting out all day. And yeah, you didn't get that. And it was literally like Vince McMahon would always say, you never know what's going to happen. And actually meant it. And there was King of the Ring 96 was proof of that.
On this pay-per-view, how much absolute just stupid stuff that you wouldn't believe happened on this match? Or on this card?
On this card?
Nothing. It was everything was, this guy's mad at this guy for this reason, and they're going to fight about it. It wasn't, let's have a lumberjack match with zombies.
Yeah.
This was wrestling, mostly. It wasn't total sports entertainment. Now, once we go and start watching WCW, you will quickly realize that this is sports entertainment and that the other one's more wrestling. But compared to today, this is 84 Mid-South.
Oh, yeah. Like, yeah, compared, like, and you could tell this, I will give the new generation credit for this. And it's, if the 80s WWF scene was kind of like, if you think about it, it was like, especially the late 80s, Hogan was super stud and all that. We're talking, it's basically a territory on steroids at that point. The new generation kind of throw shades of that territorial kind of promotion, but because, I mean, Raw was only there, in Manhattan by this point, and it seemed real territorial, but they were starting to get a little more, out there, doing shows other places and stuff. And then the Attitude Era it all just it explodes, and territories are a thing of the past by then.
Oh, they're already going here. They're already going. The last one, the last actual, what you would call an old school territory, was actually probably Smoky Mountain Wrestling, and it folded in 95, 94. And
give or take.
Yep.
Give or take. And that was the last true.
That was the last. Yep. That's why when WCW started on Monday nights, that was the, whoa, we got something else to watch. From like 90 to 94, yeah, WCW was there, but they were nothing. It was nothing.
What you would see on local, like back in the day, seeing those old territory shows on local channels.
Like, I know you guys can't see us, but WWF was up here, and way down there was WCW, and there was nothing in between. There wasn't really an indie scene even back then. I mean, there was, but not what you think of it as today. Nobody knew about it.
Nobody. And the only ones you knew about were ones that either toured in your town or were located in your town.
Yep.
Like, that was it.
Yep.
Now I can watch all kinds of other stuff now, thanks to the internet. Like even Japanese, the Eastern style of pro wrestling, which is neat to watch. Like, had no idea that Japan had a huge pro wrestling scene back in the day.
No, never heard.
You hear about a few guys might come over from Japan. Like, I remember watching Taka Michinoku,
Muda,
Funaki, Muda, Jushin Liger. Just wow, and these guys were impressive.
And we never even realized that these guys were, like, earlier in the night, not so much what we're watching now, would do tours in Japan. We never even realized it.
Yeah,
they get written
never
off.
Knew it.
They get written off here and go for a month in Japan and wrestle for tons of money.
Tons of money. And then
like Vader.
These guys, Vader was a good one. Mick Foley made his name in Japan.
Yep.
Like, oh yeah. And like, you think about guys like Muda, Taka Michinoku, just naming a couple of Japanese wrestlers, Jushin Liger. Like, these guys would come over here, and I mean, from hardcore fans, they'd get a pop, like, oh snap, like, yeah, I watched you. But other than that, for the most part, they were like mid-carders here. But you go over to Japan and you see these guys, they're like headlining in the Tokyo Dome and stuff like that. And yeah, so it's like, I guess they never thought that we would understand the Eastern style, but it's some entertaining wrestling.
Yep. But that was King of the Ring 1996.
King of the Ring 1996, ladies and gentlemen. If you made it this far into our maiden voyage of the AEWR podcast, we thank you guys for stopping by and hope to see you next time when we discuss Raw, the aftermath.
And Nitro.
Forgot about Nitro.
Thank you. Yeah, we're Raw and Nitro.
Raw and Nitro. Good call. Because that would have been fun. Well, yeah, Raw was great. And then dead silence. So did you watch Nitro? Watch what now? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But as always, folks, see you guys next time. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. We are out.